All right, guys, welcome to Press X Podcast episode 94. I believe that's the episode. Yep, got it right, 94. I'm always confused now that we're so far into these podcast episodes, I can't even keep track anymore, but we are very close. We are very close to 100 episodes. Thank you so much for being here, though. Appreciate you guys waiting patiently as always, and thank you for the $1 donation, Chlorian A. Really appreciate that. So I hope everybody is having a good Sunday. I hope everybody's day is going well so far. We have obviously a lot of different topics to discuss. It's been a busy past couple of weeks, right? Like I feel like traditionally January is a pretty tame month when it comes to gaming news, but this month it's been full of, rumors, leaks, and just big unexpected announcements, So, excuse me, I do have a little bit of a cough, so I want to apologize in advance if you hear me coughing a little bit throughout the podcast. Just got a little bit of a tickle in my throat. Somebody's asking me in the chat, what do I think about the multiplayer in Metal Gear? I think Metal Gear Online for, Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence, super underrated. Like, that was an amazing experience. And then somebody's saying, am I blocky like Minecraft? No, but we also have Metal Gear Online 2, which was featured in Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, also extremely underrated. I think I played a little bit of, I definitely played a little bit of Metal Gear Online 3, but it just wasn't the same. So, yeah. I'm just letting people kind of file in right now. I'm going to give you, in just a minute here, a rundown of some of the topics that we're going to be discussing today. I see somebody saying MGO 1 and 2 were great. Oh, absolutely, they were. Absolutely. I know that you can still play these online experiences if you want. I know that there is like a small but very dedicated community that, took it upon themselves to keep this thing alive, because Konami pulled the plug on these online games years ago. And I feel like Metal Gear Online 1 and 2 is a great example of Konami just once again dropping the ball, man. I remember the biggest mistake they made with Metal Gear Online 2 with Metal Gear Solid 4 was they decided not to integrate with the PlayStation Network, which I guess, it was the early days, so I kind of get it, but they had their own portal and website and everything, and it just overly complicated everything, so yeah. Okay, so really quick, somebody's mentioning the fan remake of Metal Gear Solid 2 on Unreal Engine 5. I actually didn't see that yet. I have to look into that. I saw an article pop up about it, and that actually sounds really awesome. So, I'll definitely have to look into that. But before I give you a quick rundown of the topics that we're going to discuss over the course of this episode, I want to just let you guys know, first of all, that I appreciate all of your continued support here on the channel with the content I create, and certainly with the podcast. If you want to help this podcast out, or you just want to help the channel out, there's a few things you can do. The easiest, which anybody who's listening to this right now is already doing, just interact with the content, watch the content. Make sure you hit the like button. That helps as well. We are already almost at 150 likes, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for that. So be sure to hit the like button at some point throughout the podcast to help it out. You can become a channel member. Right now, I don't really have any specific perks I'm offering. Those who choose to become channel members are doing so for the badge next to their name, but also just as a way of showing their continual support for the content I produce on the channel. So I really appreciate that. And then you can also donate a super chat like the Caped Crusader here did, and that is another great way during these streams to help support the content and the channel directly. So thank you guys so much for that. And feel free to share the podcast out as well. That's something else you can do, where if you really do like this podcast and you do, like the community that we have here, feel free to share it out to anybody else who you think would want to join in on this. So the Caped Crusader, thank you so much, buddy. You're saying, calling it now, Horizon Forbidden West wins Game of the Year and gets a 94 on Metacritic. Also, we need a Killzone 2 remake for PlayStation 5. Yeah, Killzone 2 remake would be very interesting. I think a lot of people would love to see something like that, or just like a Killzone trilogy of some kind, remastered. But a 94 on Metacritic. Yeah, we're going to talk about that, the Caped Crusader. One of the big topics we will be discussing over the course of this podcast is Horizon Forbidden West. I talk about this in my title and my thumbnail about how the hype for Horizon Forbidden West continues to build, and people are continuing to be impressed with what they're seeing with Horizon Forbidden West. There's obviously been some, a little bit, just a tad, just a very small amount of negativity just from internet trolls. But I think in general, everybody universally is like, Horizon looks really good. Like I've even seen people who aren't excited for the game, like they played Horizon Zero Dawn and they just couldn't get into it. I even see those people saying how, it looks like it's going to be a good game. Maybe not a game for them, but they think it still looks like a good game. Basically, just giving credit where it's due. And so there has been this conversation about what is it going to score on Metacritic? Excuse me. What is it going to score on Metacritic? How is it going to score? And a lot of people have been giving their predictions. And I do have something I want to say about that when we get to that topic, because I feel like it's just natural that we're going to want to pay attention to the review scores of a game like Horizon, but I do have something I want to say about it. Brother Natural, you're saying thoughts on Xbox fanboys becoming arrogant again. My thoughts on that are simple. It's going to happen, I want to say this. I think this is important to say. I know that there is a lot of rhetoric and a lot of back and forth within the PlayStation community, within the Xbox community, within any gaming community, within any community in general. But specifically talking about Xbox, I don't want to sit here and pretend that PlayStation fans didn't do the same thing. All right. Now, I'm not saying all PlayStation fans. I'm not saying that every single person who likes PlayStation or is a fan of PlayStation became arrogant and disrespectful. Not at all. Okay. In fact, I've seen more PlayStation fans actually be respectful, and I've seen more Xbox fans be respectful as well. But if there's one thing that I've realized this past week and a half, past 2 weeks, is that this is just kind of the natural up and down that we're seeing, right? It's kind of like a seesaw effect where when there is a fan base and they're excited for, they like a product or a brand or whatever, or they're, rooting for their team, however you want to look at it. And they're doing really well. There's always going to be a little bit of arrogance. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm innocent. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that when Sony was full steam ahead in 2020 with the PS5, just, blowing everybody away with their game reveals and hyping it up. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I wasn't all aboard that hype train and being like, yeah, PlayStation's going to dominate. PlayStation's the best. I mean, like 99% of it was just genuine, sincere excitement. But there was a hint of like, yeah, like PlayStation's going to stomp on Xbox. So I'm saying all this because looking at the, I guess we'll call it enthusiasm within the Xbox community over the past week and a half, it's not as surprising, I guess, this time around, because we kind of saw a similar situation with Bethesda when Microsoft announced that they acquired Bethesda, and Activision, is kind of like upping the ante in a way there. Yeah, it was always going to be this way. I mean, I saw that a lot of people were freaking out about, and maybe freaking out isn't the right word. You know what? I don't want to use the terminology freak out, because I'm going to be honest with you guys right now. I didn't see anybody actually freaking out about this, but I saw some PlayStation fans clearly a little bit upset that Aaron Greenberg put Crash Bandicoot in his profile picture. And I think it's understandable why some PlayStation fans would be a little bit upset at that, because it's like, wait, Crash Bandicoot was supposed to be he was the PlayStation mascot. How could this happen? But, there's also been a lot of Xbox fans kind of using that to really troll PlayStation fans and try to get to them and anger them and get under their skin. And this is just the way things are going to be. To expect it to be any different, I feel like you're having unrealistic expectations. But I would recommend trying not to partake in it. People, I think, get like and I'm part of this. It's easy to take it too far. It's easy to get like too into it. But all in all, like, come on. I don't really think it's that big of a deal that Aaron Greenberg put Crash Bandicoot in his profile picture. However, I can understand why some PlayStation fans would be like, come on, man, why you got to do that? I get it. It's definitely a little bit of salt in the wound there. But we can't sit here, guys. And I'll say this before I move on. Last thing. We cannot sit here and pretend that Xbox fans and the Xbox fan base did not get kicked while they were down last generation. We can't sit here and pretend that. So, I'm just saying I'm not surprised to see Aaron Greenberg do that. I actually kind of thought it was a little bit funny when I saw it. I know that some people are like, that's disrespectful, but it is what it is, man. It is what it is, It will be, I'll tell you though, it will be interesting if in the future Xbox ends up making an exclusive Crash Bandicoot game. That is just going to be like mind blowing. Like, how did we get to this point? But thank you for that super chat, brother Natural. Mike McCarthy 88. Thank you for the $1. KD, you're saying, what's up, MBG? I hope you and your family are doing great. Well, thank you so much, man. We're doing well. Thank you for checking in. You're saying, how did your PlayStation 2021 recap look? I actually put in more hours into Battlefield 2042 on PS5 than Halo Infinite on Steam. Yeah, so that 2021 recap, it took me a while to actually put that through or get that to work, because I don't know how many of you tried to do this on PlayStation's website, but they had that weird puzzle that I've never interacted with before in my life, where it was like, lead the mouse through the maze to get the cheese. And I'm like sitting there doing it over and over again. And I'm like, how am I messing that? Like, it's like asking me to do it like 20 times. And I'm like, just by the end of it to say, oh yeah, you messed up. Sorry. And so I was like, I'm not doing this. I went back to it the next day, and my recap was actually pretty good. I think I had a total of about either 1,500 or 1,600 total hours of playtime on my PS5, which was more than I thought, because I was like, I don't recall actually playing that much throughout the year, because it was a somewhat busy year. It was a little bit of a stressful year for sure. No, it was a stressful year, but I just didn't expect that. Oh, wow, I racked up way more playtime than I thought. And you know what game I actually had the most playtime on? Not a PlayStation exclusive. I had my most playtime, I think it was at like 400 hours on Dead by Daylight, because back, I think in around February and March of last year, my friend got me into that game, and I got like addicted to it, man. I was like, this game is amazing. How have I not played this before? And I got addicted to playing as the killer and hunting people. And I ended up platinuming the game. So I had my most playtime in that. I don't have it up in front of me, but 2 PlayStation exclusives that were on there, where there was Returnal. I actually had more hours in Returnal than I thought. I had about 121 hours in Returnal, which I thought I was only at like 100. So I had 21 more hours into that game than I originally thought. And then I had Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, which I had 131 hours in. And I'm trying to remember what other games were on there. I can't remember what other games I had on there, but those 3 I know stood out to me. I can't remember how many platinums I earned either. However, I did just get the platinum for Guardians of the Galaxy. And Morgan, I did get the platinum for Returnal. So I did get the platinum for Guardians of the Galaxy. That's my first platinum of 2022. And oh my God, let me just take a second here before I move on to these super chats and give you guys the rundown of the topics. I have to tell you, Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the best games I played in a long time, man. And I mean, the gameplay side of things has been criticized, and I understand. The gameplay depth, it's not really as in depth as you would hope for it to be, but my God, the game was just so good. The story, the writing, the characters. I was hooked the entire time, man, and I enjoyed it so much. And I never do this. I went back and I played it a second time because I had to, even regardless, to get all of the trophies, but I was like, you know what? I just want to play it through again. It was such a great game, man. The soundtrack, the Caped Crusader, yes, the soundtrack was amazing. So anybody who hasn't played Guardians of the Galaxy, if you are a fan of single-player, narrative-driven games, you absolutely need to do yourself a favor and play Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought people were overhyping this game. I thought they were over-exaggerating, how good it actually was, but I don't know. I see some people are telling me to look at Blue Box's Twitter. Maybe I will in a minute. But thank you for asking that, KD. You're saying you put more time in the Battlefield than Halo. Well, to each their own, man. I think Battlefield's having a struggle right now, but we'll have to see what the future of that franchise holds. DJ Curvo Media, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. You're saying, here's to an extremely busy gaming month in February. Can't wait. Oh, dude, I hear you, man. I hear you. I'm anticipating Dying Light 2. I got Sifu pre-ordered and ready to go. I'm thinking, don't hold me to this, but I'm thinking about streaming Sifu. It's been a while. It's been a good minute since I've streamed myself playing any games, but I think I'm going to really try to make a bigger effort in February to stream more games, starting with Sifu, some Horizon, some Elden Ring, Excuse me. Man, this tickle in my throat's going to drive me nuts. But Sifu, oh man, Sifu is actually one of the topics we have to discuss today. So, let me see. We have, and thank you for that super chat, by the way, DJ. I can't wait as well. We have Mr. Unknown saying, did you see the audio file that was found on the Blue Box website, MBG? If so, I'd like to get your thoughts on it. Kojima might be behind this all. So funny enough, I did see a bunch of people tagging me with that, and I didn't want to touch it because I saw that PlayStation Lifestyle wrote, I think it was Lifestyle. Maybe it was either PlayStation Universe or PlayStation Lifestyle. I think it was Lifestyle. They all sound the same to me. They wrote up an article about this, and Hassan responded directly to it and said, no, that's not us. Like, it's not real. And I was like, you know what? I'm not touching this, man. Like, I'm done. I'm done with the Blue Box thing. Even if something comes out of it in the end, I don't want to touch it anymore because it just feels at this point like something is not right with this whole thing. It's just not right. I don't know what it is. There was certainly a time last year where I 100% believed like, oh, this is Kojima, this is Silent Hill, this is crazy. But at this point, I just don't want to touch it because I wholeheartedly believe like, yeah, this is an indie dev who is doing something with a game on the PlayStation 5 and things just got way out of hand. That's what I believe at this point in time. And I don't want to do any more damage, to them. I don't want to partake in that. You know what I mean? I had no problem talking about it when I believed that's not what it was because I believed it was something else. But at this point, I don't believe that. And I don't want to continue to, make things more difficult for my audience or the developers. I just want to leave it be. I want to do what Hassan told us all to do, which is give them time, give them room, and when they're ready, they'll release what they have or show what they have. That's where I'm at. I do not think it's Kojima. Let me see. We have Mr. Unknown, but when it comes to that whole situation, I don't have any direct thoughts on the audio file or whatever. I don't think it's anything, man. I really don't. So that's where I'm at. Sorry, my like eyelashes are falling out for some reason. I like had just like 3 or 4 eyelashes fall out, and they keep like poking my eye. The Brownie Bro, you're saying excited for Horizon, but I have waited too long for Elden Ring. Wife will be playing Horizon Forbidden West, and I will be playing Elden Ring. We are almost there. Dude, I totally feel you right now with this because I am just so torn on how I'm going to manage this, man. I don't mean to make it sound like it's such a huge problem, but I am just as excited for Elden Ring as I am for Horizon Forbidden West. I mean, these are 2 Game of the Year contenders for me personally. Like, these are 2 games that by the time I'm reflecting on 2022, I fully expect both of these games to rise to the top and be 2 games that I'm thinking about. The fact that I had to play them like within a week of one another, I'm not the type of gamer that rushes through games at all. I take my good old time. So I'm thinking if I can just slowly take my time with Horizon and then maybe try my best to balance that with Elden Ring, kind of give them both, some love and some time, I should be able to manage that. I say should, I don't know if I can, but I will try. So I feel you, Brownie Bro. That's, some tough decisions to be made. You're saying that you're going to put Elden Ring first. Totally understand that, man. I think Elden Ring is absolutely going to be a masterpiece. We have KD once again. You're saying Xbox can have Crash and Spyro. We got KOTOR, LOL. You know what? It is kind of funny when you point it out like that, man. It's like, well, I wanted to make this joke, but at the same time, I was like, I don't want to fuel the console war stuff on Twitter anyway, or at all, because people just, they get overly worked up about it. Like I said, I tend to do that sometimes too. I get made fun of for it, and I know. I get all emotional and whatnot because I just get on my, I go on my rants and I go off the deep end. But in all seriousness, it is funny to think that, Sony came out last year and they're like, we got KOTOR remake. That's right. We got what used to be an Xbox exclusive. It's now going to be a PS5 exclusive, not on Xbox. And then, flash forward to where we are now, and Microsoft's like, oh yeah? Well, we got Crash and Spyro. And then Sony's like, not a big deal. We'll get those games eventually. And then Microsoft's like, no. We own Crash and Spyro now. And Sony's like, how dare you? I just feel like that's kind of the situation where a lot of people who talk about the Activision Blizzard deal, they're coming out and they're basically saying, dude, Sony had this coming, man. This was a long time coming for Sony because Sony wanted to keep buying third-party exclusivity deals and whatnot. And Microsoft's just like, we're done. So Microsoft now owns Crash and Spyro. And you can assume at this point that if a new Crash and Spyro game gets made, it's never going to come to PlayStation. That's what I'm assuming. And also, KOTOR Remake is a timed exclusive. So the belief is that at some point KOTOR Remake will release on Xbox. So we'll have to see what happens with both of those games, but that's the way it is for now. The Caped Crusader, you mentioned the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. I agree. Amazing soundtrack. This is glitching out a little bit. Lyro, you're saying Sony needs Take-Two for their sports games, Zynga for their mobile division, not PlayStation. Rockstar Games is the perfect fit for Sony's agenda and Project Spartacus. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I can continue to talk too much about what Sony is going to do, because the reason why I can't talk about it so much is just because it's just pure speculation. I mean, it will be until Sony makes some type of announcement. I've seen people talk about how Sony's going to try to go for EA, and you're talking about how they should go for Take-Two Interactive, and I don't excuse me, I don't know what Sony's plans are, and I don't know that they need to do that per se. Like, I don't know that they need to do that. But there are people who have very strong opinions. There are people who wholeheartedly believe that Sony absolutely needs to buy a publisher. And then there are those that say they absolutely shouldn't buy a publisher. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm in the middle where I could see both sides. Like, I could see why people feel like Sony does absolutely need to buy a publisher, because if they don't, they're going to lose out on them eventually. But I also understand the side where it's like, well, Sony doesn't need to worry about buying a publisher. They need to worry about their own studios and creating studios and building up smaller studios to eventually be bigger studios. Because look, I know people talk about Rockstar, but I would argue that some of Sony's top tier studios are just as good, if not better, than Rockstar in some regard, especially more recently, right? With their output. So I just, I don't know that I agree wholeheartedly with this sentiment, but Lyro, I do understand exactly where you're coming from, and it is certainly something we have to keep within our minds. As a possibility that's, who knows what Sony might do? Who knows? We don't know. So we'll have to wait and see, but I want to say that it's unlikely they're going to buy Take-Two Interactive. I feel like that is very unlikely. Excuse me. Again, I feel like that's going to be happening all throughout the podcast. Josh, you're saying your rant last episode had me rolling. Keep up the great work. It also sounds like previews are saying Dying Light 2 and Horizon Forbidden West are very, very good. Sifu 2. Well, to talk about those games, dude, I think every one of them is going to be really good. I'm hearing good things about Dying Light 2 as well. Obviously, we're going to dive into Horizon Forbidden West. We're hearing very good things about that. And Sifu, I haven't heard too much about, but there is one thing in particular I want to discuss regarding Sifu a little bit later on, because there are some people who are a little bit concerned about this title. And I'm going to talk about why. We will dive into that. And yeah, when it comes to my rant last episode, I know people were making fun of me, and I come on, I knew what I was doing, guys. Like, I knew when I leaned into that rant and I went off the deep end and I just lost it. I knew that it's like, okay, this is where the crazed fanboy comes out. I'm not saying it was all for show, because there was a lot of truth, I think, most of what I said, but did you ever hear the saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it? I feel like my rants are kind of, I do want to correct something as well. This is worth correcting, because a lot of people were pointing it out, and I went back and I listened to it, and I'm like, yeah, I did say that, didn't I? People were basically pointing out that I said, I never played Halo, and I don't like Halo. And I guess I was just not, I was just so ranty, I didn't realize what exactly I was saying. But just to clarify, I have played Halo before, just not extensively. And I think that's worth saying, because the point I was trying to get at is not that I hate Halo. I feel like somebody says that's not exactly how you said it. I don't think so either. I didn't listen to the clip recently, but the important thing is what I'm clarifying now. I've played a bit of Halo. It's not like I've never touched Halo. It's not like I've never played it. I have not played Halo Infinite, so that's worth noting. But I don't hate Halo, and I just want to make that clear. It's just that I don't like it personally. I've tried getting into it. I've tried playing it, and it just never clicked with me. And that's really all I was trying to get at. And I know it was probably perceived very differently during that moment, but I think that's certainly something worth clarifying, because if I never played Halo ever, if I never touched Halo in my life, I would say so, and I would proceed to not talk about it because I've never played it, right? But, I never really could get into Halo no matter how hard I tried. And I did try. So just wanted to clarify that. But October's very own, you're saying, this keeps glitching out. Sorry, guys. Scroll up here. Okay, October's very own, you're saying, haven't been able to watch one of your live shows in a bit due to work, but always watch after. Been beating the drum on Twisted Metal on your show since forever. I really hope those rumors are true. Fingers crossed. Well, I think they are true, man. We've been hearing a lot about Twisted Metal and a type of reboot, or just kind of, Sony wanting to do something with it. And I believe it wholeheartedly because something that is official is Sony is doing a Twisted Metal TV show. This is official. This was revealed. It's happening, and it's shooting for a 2023 release. So it makes total sense that Sony would also want to try to have a new game to line up with the release of the TV show. So October's very own. If you're somebody who's looking forward to Twisted Metal, I don't want to say it's definitive and 100% confirmed because it hasn't been confirmed yet, but it's extremely likely that all of the reports and rumors we're hearing about a Twisted Metal reboot are real and it is in the works. So thank you for that. KD, again, you're saying bathtub Sifu stream. Let's go, MBG. Yeah, I don't think so, man. I don't think I'm going to be streaming from the bathtub. I don't even know how I would set that up. I don't even know how I would set that up. I'd probably end up dropping my DualSense in the water or something, and wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. Clint, thank you so much for that donation, buddy. We have Staniza Stanek saying, what makes it even crazier is that Mark Cerny himself was working on Crash Bandicoot back in the day. Damn, I will miss Crash plus Spyro on PlayStation. Yeah, I don't know, man. I really do feel that if Microsoft, and I think they will, I do think they will. I think that Microsoft is going to greenlight another Crash and another Spyro, which I think will be a great thing if they do. I know this sounds crazy because it's probably going to be Xbox exclusive, but let's be real right now. Once we heard that Activision was folding the studios that worked on Crash and Spyro into just being more Call of Duty studios, we knew that it's over. They're not pursuing Crash Bandicoot or Spyro anymore. And a lot of people were upset about that. Now that Xbox has them, there is I'd say a decent chance now that they can still live on, even though they'll live on Xbox, and it'll be a tough pill for some PlayStation fans to swallow. I feel like getting an Xbox exclusive Crash Bandicoot or Spyro for people who are fans of those games is absolutely better than just never getting them again. And I think that even the most hardcore PlayStation fans can agree with that sentiment. So I'd rather see them live on another platform than just be thrown away and never heard from or seen again, So there's that positive we can take from this. and I feel like when I want to say this too, that little marketing thing that Aaron Greenberg did with there's Rare as well. Yeah, a lot of people are saying they got to do something with Banjo and whatnot, and they haven't. So yeah, we can't jump the gun here. We can't assume. But I will say, I think that Microsoft is looking at the positive buzz that is being generated from this profile picture from Aaron Greenberg, the positive buzz of, look at how excited people are about Crash Bandicoot on Xbox. They're like, we need to make a Crash Bandicoot game right now. Be great marketing. Yeah, I could see that. Baldy McNosehair, nice name, says, what are your thoughts on the new Pokemon game? Honestly, I don't have any thoughts on the new Pokemon game. I don't play Pokemon. I haven't played Pokemon since I think I was 8 or 9 or 10 years old, something around there. It's been a very, very long time. So honestly, I haven't even been following the conversation. The only thing I have heard about the new Pokemon game is that it's essentially divisive, where it's like, it's still Pokemon. And so you either like, yeah, this is awesome. But it also seems like people are like, yep, it's still Pokemon. It's the same thing. I don't know. That seems to be the conversation around Pokemon games these days, that for what little I hear and come across, that's what I'm getting from it. So, it's Pokemon, and I don't really have any more thoughts than that, but thank you for the super chat. Clint, again, you're saying big month. We need gaming management tips, MBG. Gaming management tips. I feel like the best tip I could give anybody who is like going into February, first of all, when it comes to finances, right? When it comes to, can you afford to buy all of the games you want? If the answer is no, which I think for most people it's a no, because that's a lot of games. That's a lot of money in a very short period of time. I think what you should do is really sit down for at least a couple of minutes, okay, in deep contemplative thought, and think, which game is the priority? Which game do you absolutely need to play no matter what? That you have to make sure you have the money set aside for this game, even if it's the only game you get for now or for a while. First, do that. If you do that, then you have your answer. You know which game to play. If you are somebody who can afford multiple games, but now you're like, how do I manage these games? I feel like if you want to attempt to play more than one game at a time, first of all, you have to know whether or not you're able to do that. Some people are able to do that. Other people are not. I see people saying you can use your tax return. Yeah, that's true. You can do that too. So if anything, if more people are doing that, what I'm about to say is even more important. You have to know if you're the type of person, can you balance playing multiple games? Some people can play 2 games at one time, back to back, and kind of transfer between them, and they're fine. Some people could do more than that. They can do 3, 4 games, which I think is crazy, but some people can. Some people cannot deviate from just playing one game at a time. And so I feel like if you can, maybe this is your first time encountering this problem, figure out if you're able to do that or not. And if you're not, then it just comes back down to what game takes the priority for you. So like for me, if I had to choose between Horizon and Elden Ring, like if I had to choose which one I'm going to play first, I'm going to choose Horizon, and then I'll play Elden Ring. But I feel as though I can balance both, right? And what will probably end up happening is if you try playing a couple of games at one time, you'll naturally find that there is one game in particular you're gravitating to more than the others. And so you might actually just naturally start to play the game that you actually enjoy the most. So I don't know. That's the best advice I can give you, because I'm still kind of in the same boat myself. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. So good question. Josh, you're saying don't change your rants, give the channel identity. I mean, look, I'm going to rant when I feel the need to rant. I will say, though, I don't know, man. That rant was going to happen because that was such an unexpected podcast and such an unexpected situation where if you had told me 2.5 or 3 weeks ago that, hey, man, on episode 93 of Press X Podcast, you're going to be talking about how Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, I would have said, yeah, okay, sure, whatever you say, buddy. But there we were. So it was like, I was just kind of leaning into it and having some fun, and, it happens. It happens. It's part of the game here, right? But again, it's not what you say. Well, it is what you say. I mean, you got to be aware of what you say, but it's like the saying goes, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I think that is very true. Give me 1 second here, guys. I have to mess with my tea a little bit here. So give me a second, because I'm going to need this throughout this episode of the podcast. Okay. Video. I lost your super chat. Video. You're saying, what studio are you most excited to see the next game from? This is a great question. I'm assuming you're talking about PlayStation Studios. So I'm going to stick with PlayStation Studios. I mean, does Kojima Productions count as a PlayStation studio? Does it? I don't know. I'm gonna leave Kojima Productions out of it, only because we don't know for certain yet if he's making a game for PlayStation. Although I'm feeling extremely confident he is. I'm not going to count Kojima Productions. I'm not going to count partner studios. This may be like I'm just letting the studio that just pops into my head first be the answer, and that is Guerrilla Games. I know that sounds crazy, but I am dying to know what their second title is. That's been in the works for like over 4 years at this point. Maybe not over 4 years, but close to 4 years. We've been hearing that they have the second big game, and nothing is leaked. There's just been rumors that we don't even know if they're substantiated. And I'm just dying to know, because I think the big reason is because so many people want it to be Socom or Killzone. And I think I'm leaning more towards Socom. And I'm just so curious. Like, if it is Socom, if I see a lot of people in the chat saying Killzone, guys, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be Killzone. But if it is Socom, the reason why that really intrigues me, because, oh my God, I would love to, absolutely want to see what a Guerrilla Games developed Socom looks like in 2022. Holy shit. What does that look like? That to me is the game, the studio that I want to hear from next. And I know that that's so funny because we're getting Horizon Forbidden West. So, you know, a lot of people want to see SOCOM return. And I feel like SOCOM could maybe make a bigger splash than it ever has in the past if Guerrilla Games were to nail it because of how talented Guerrilla Games is as a studio. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. KD, I'm going to get to these other super chats, guys, but KD is relevant to this specifically. He says, do you want SOCOM to go back to as a third-person shooter or first-person shooter? So if there's one thing that I think people would be upset about, specifically the SOCOM fan base, is if they are making SOCOM, if they made it first-person. I don't think people would take kindly to that, fans anyway. I like third-person games better than first-person. So for me personally, I absolutely want to see a third-person game. Absolutely. You know, if they want to make it where it's like third-person, but then when you aim down sights on your weapon, it goes in the first-person, kind of like PUBG, you know, that's something, or even Metal Gear. Like, yeah, I think that would be fine too, but I think they have to retain that third-person tactical type gameplay, you know? So I'm trying to think really quick though. You know what else I'm really interested in? And I know this isn't going to be the next studio we see, and we're going to talk more about London Studio over the course of this podcast. I want to know what this game is that London Studio is working on. Because we got Herman Holst out here hyping it up, which we will talk about, but I want to know about that. I know people are talking, I see a couple people mentioning The Last of Us multiplayer. I'm not really counting that only because we already know that that's what it is. I can't wait to see it. And I absolutely will be hyped when we do because I have high hopes for it. But we already know. Like, I'm talking about the stuff that, like, we just don't know yet. You know what I mean? Like, we have no inclination. I'm not going to say Sucker Punch because I know Sucker Punch is likely working on something Ghost of Tsushima related. Doesn't make me any less excited, but I'm really fascinated by just these projects that we've heard about through, like, job listings and rumors, but we pretty much know nothing about, you know? Those are the ones that I'm really interested in. So thank you for that. Shark Gomp, you're saying, good job out there. I also hope that keep supporting other content creators like myself. The good workout, my friend. Well, thank you so much for that, Shark Gomp. If I'm reading your super chat correctly, you're talking about supporting content creators. And that's, yeah, I mean, it's important. If there's a content creator you like, if there's a content creator that you appreciate, I'm sure that they put a lot of hard work and effort into what they do, no matter how big or how small. Always show your support and always show your appreciation. It does go a long way for every content creator. The Caped Crusader, you're saying, MBG, can you make predictions for Metacritic scores for the big games this year? Plus, I get this feeling Xbox are going to buy CD Projekt Red next. I could actually see CD Projekt Red being bought out by Microsoft. Oh. Sorry about that. I hate when there's just complete silence and dead air, but throat's getting dry here. I mean, so when it comes to Metacritic score predictions, so for Horizon Forbidden West, I could see it getting a 91. I could see it getting a 90 or a 91. I think I would be super impressed if it managed to get like a 92, 3, or 4. I mean, that would be crazy. But I wouldn't be shocked either. And I want to make this known. I wouldn't be shocked if it got like an 88 or an 89. I don't think it will, but I don't want to make it sound like, oh, it's a guaranteed 90. Because if there's one thing I've learned about reviews, expect anything. Like, I don't care about reviews. You know, it's difficult for me to talk about Metacritic scores anymore because I just do not care. Like, Horizon Forbidden West could get a 60 on Metacritic and I'm going to play it day one. And I'm going to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. It's always nice to celebrate games that get high Metacritic scores and review well. It's always nice because it's like, it's, hey, look, here's some affirmation, some positive affirmation that this game is really good. Like, objectively speaking, well, it's not objective, but, it's just nice. But for me, it's, like, I'll give you a good one, Sifu. Sifu, we don't know what that game's going to get. Sifu could get like a 48 on Metacritic, and I do not care. Like, that is my game, bro. Like, I'm playing that game. It may not be like a 9 out of 10 game for me when I'm done with it. It may not be a 10 out of 10, but I'm playing that game. It looks fun. And you can't convince me, no matter what, that I'm not going to have some fun playing that game. You know what I mean? Just like there are games that I see all the time that get like decently good review scores or even great review scores. And I'm just like, it doesn't look like my type of game. This is where I've just completely removed myself from this mentality. Like, if Horizon Forbidden West gets like a 95 or like a 96 on Metacritic, yes, I'm going to come out here and I'm like, holy shit, guys, look at this. That is impressive. But it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? Like, it matters to the extent that other people really are going to like be like, whoa, this is crazy. But for me, it doesn't matter because I have played games throughout my lifetime that I thought were 10 out of 10 or like a 9 out of 10. And when I go look at the Metacritic score, it's like a 71, or like a 65. I'm like, I don't, so this is why I don't, people like to play Metacritic scores. People like to play these types of meta games, I guess you could say, and I just don't care anymore about it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. Just play what you think looks good. So, sorry to Cape Crusader. That's pretty much all you're going to get out of me with Metacritic. Excuse me. Baldy McNosehair again says, "Are you going to see the Uncharted movie?" I'm kind of torn. I might see it. I'm just like morbidly curious. Like, I'm curious if whenever I eventually watch that movie, if I'm going to be left feeling like, wow, that really sucked, or if I'm going to be left feeling like that was exactly what I expected. Like, it was a pretty decent, action adventure movie. So we'll have to see. Antonio, you're saying Sly Cooper definitely needs a new game. I do believe the rumors, man. I do think that Sony greenlit another Sly Cooper. I don't know if it's going to be a reboot or a continuation, and I don't think Sucker Punch will be working on it. They could be, but I don't think they will be. But I think that they have another Sly Cooper game in development. I would be surprised if they didn't, because if there's one thing I think that's becoming clear with this generation of PlayStation studios and management is specifically with Herman Hulst, it seems like he really wants to kind of bring some stuff back, and I think that the time for that is right. So I think we will get another one. Colby Watson, you're saying, hey BG, what are your thoughts on Red Dead Redemption 2 and how do you think it compares to games like Ghost of Tsushima? I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is definitely a masterpiece, but I just don't have the same, I guess you could say, I don't know. I don't have the same positivity that everybody else has towards it. Like, I remember one of the things that stands out for me with Red Dead Redemption 2 is there are just some moments that are so incredible. It's like, yeah, this game is absolutely a masterpiece. Like, just moments in that game that stand out to me with Arthur Morgan and, when the music would kick in and you're like, oh my God, like this is it, man. But at the same time, there are also many moments where I realize, holy crap, this is, it's not even like the sim part of it. The game was more sim than you would expect, but I just felt like the controls, like basically the combat, right? Because a lot of that game, you're shooting guys, you're shooting people in that game a lot. Like, that's a huge part of the game. Ever since Rockstar Games made Max Payne 3, shooting in games like GTA and Red Dead was just ruined for me. Because I'm like, if it doesn't feel like Max Payne, it just feels too cumbersome to me. Because Max Payne was like one of the best shooters ever made. Max Payne 3, incredible. And I know it would be weird to have like Arthur Morgan jumping around like Max Payne in Red Dead Redemption 2. It wouldn't really fit, but I loved Red Dead Redemption 2, and you're talking about how it stacks up to a game like Ghost of Tsushima. I think they both have their own strengths. I think that where Red Dead 2 is so focused on just the minute detail and just getting every last micro detail perfect, to the point where it's almost like at times this game can feel a little bit cumbersome to play, but it's for the sake of realism and immersion. I feel like Ghost of Tsushima does the opposite. You know, it pretty much says, like, we want this game to be immersive. We want it to be mostly as realistic as we can make it, but still, it's a video game. Have fun. You know what I mean? Like, don't expect like this to be like a simulation or anything like that. So I feel like those are really the two biggest differences, and I feel like in a lot of ways they are similar though. So I do like Red Dead though. But if I had to pick which one I enjoyed more, I'm gonna have to say Ghost of Tsushima. Just because I felt like the story, I don't know, not the story itself, but the pacing of it. I think the pacing of Ghost of Tsushima was better, but at the same time, there was, I think, a little bit more, maybe in some cases, a lot more nuance in Red Dead Redemption 2's story. But sometimes I feel like that nuance can work against it. I don't know. That's something I'd really have to think about, but I enjoyed both, I enjoyed both, but I think I definitely put more time into Ghost of Tsushima. Actually, I know I did with the director's cut. So I think, and I want to say this too before I move on. The one thing that I think really is the difference maker for me between these two games simply is when it comes to moment-to-moment gameplay, Ghost of Tsushima, in my opinion, wins. Red Dead Redemption 2 does a lot of things very well, but when it comes to just moment-to-moment like combat and gameplay, Ghost of Tsushima nailed it, I think, with the sword combat. It's pretty addicting. So, thank you for that. Okay, I got to get a move on with some of these super chats. Starting to get backed up again. Okay, Kapapa, you're saying, after Kena, Control, and Jedi Fallen Order, I am ready to go to the Forbidden West. Yeah, so you basically mentioned like 3 linear games. Now you're ready for an open world game. Me too, man. Me too. After I've just played Guardians of the Galaxy, and I also played Kena and Control and Jedi Fallen Order. So I agree. I'm ready to go back as well. I'm ready for a big, meaty open world game. Josh Z, a member for 22 months with Play Has No Limits Plus. Thank you so much, man. You're saying Nintendo Switch outsold the original PlayStation according to recent estimates and has a heavy 2022 lineup predicted that will have it moving further up the all-time charts. Will you be surprised if it ultimately passes PS2? Oh, dude, I would. Yes, I would be. I would be like, holy shit, who would have seen that coming, man? I would be if any console in the future, you have to imagine at some point it'll happen. Anything that passes the PS2, I'll be shocked because it's like, wow, no, who thought? Who would have thought that this would have been the console to do it? I just wouldn't expect that. So if it does outsell the PS2, then wow, I guess Nintendo really did make the right move. I mean, we know that they made the right move with the Switch, but at that point, it's like, yeah, unquestionably, this was the best move that they could have made. So we'll see if that happens. KD, you're saying, I already read that. Solid Snake says, Socom sucks. Make a new IP, bro. Those are fighting words, I think, around here. Now, I don't know. I have seen some people who are not thrilled at the idea of Socom coming back because they're not excited for Socom. But I think, I don't know. I don't know when Guerrilla's going to make a new IP, man. It could be a new IP. And that's the thing. We don't know. It could be a new IP that they're working on. We'll have to see. Antonio, you're saying, what if the new Guerrilla game title is a VR game? That would be interesting as well, man. I feel like it's not going to be, though, because they're working on Horizon Call of the Mountain. So I feel like because of that, it's more likely it's not going to be a VR game. They're already working on a Horizon VR game. And just to be clear, some people think that is the second game. No, Horizon Call of the Mountain is not the second AAA game that Guerrilla has. So, let me see. Start Infection, you're saying, with the next 3 CODs still on PlayStation, what dev releases a military FPS in 4 years to fill that hole left by Call of Duty, first or third party? Medal of Honor revival? I think it's obvious, dude. I think that right now Sony has Sony's betting on multiple horses here. I think Sony has Deviation Games, Firewalk Studio, and also maybe even Guerrilla Games with, like I said, if they're doing Killzone or if they're, all signs point to Guerrilla Games doing a shooter of some kind. And who knows what else they might have that we don't know about. I think Sony is basically hoping that one of these games will kind of rise up and be like a big, prominent shooter on Sony's platform. I don't know that anything Sony could do could rival Call of Duty. I don't think you could do that. You know what I mean? We're talking about Call of Duty here. I don't want to, I know some people are going to be like, no, Sony can do it. I'm like, guys, come on. We're talking like the chances that Sony's going to be able to strike that type of gold. I mean, that's a an unlikely scenario, but I do think that they could have a standout shooter that maybe rivals games like Battlefield, Apex Legends, Rainbow Six Siege. I absolutely think that they can do that. And who knows, maybe they will get lucky and one of these studios will produce the next big thing. That's what Sony is focused on, guys. I know that when we talk about Call of Duty, and we've been talking about it a lot this past week and a half, understandably so, it's justified that we would be talking a lot about Call of Duty because of the situation. But people need to understand that Sony is, I'm telling you, I don't want to say people should understand because I'm saying it as if I know for sure. I don't know for sure. But I think it's more likely that Sony at this point has the mentality like we're focused on the next big thing, not the thing that's already out and will likely be on its way out over time. Call of Duty's been at the top of the hill, the king of the hill for a long time, man. And you look at how badly Vanguard sold. It's clear that it's waning a little bit. It's waning, and so we also have no idea what Microsoft's plans are. Call of Duty might change dramatically, man. Call of Duty might become a game that releases once every 3 to 5 years, for all we know. We don't know the future of Call of Duty other than that it's been around for a while. It's been the top dog for a long time, and I think that Sony is at a point where they're like, what's the next big thing? Can we be the ones to usher in the next big thing? Can we be ahead of the curve here? I think that's what Sony's focused on. I could be wrong, but when they're put in a position that they're in where it's like, you're going to lose Call of Duty, potentially. Like, after 2023, Call of Duty might never make its return on your platform. Then at that point, it just makes sense to be focused on, okay, then what's the next big thing? What do we replace it with? And I think that these studios that I listed, I think as of right now, that's what Sony's investing in. And we're going to talk more about that. Don't worry. Mito, you're saying, hope your family is doing well. Have a great podcast. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. My family is doing well. We're all doing good. And so far, the podcast is going really well. We're over an hour into it. I have yet to get to any of my top topics. Although, let me be fair here. I may not have dived deep into any of my topics yet, but you guys have been throwing me super chats that absolutely cover most of the topics that we were going to discuss. So thank you for that, buddy. Echoes93, you're saying, I think Sony should buy From Software or Bungie. I don't know that I would want Sony to buy Bungie. I'm not the biggest fan of Bungie. If Sony were to buy Bungie, I would kind of feel like, cool. I wouldn't really know what to think about that. Like, they do Destiny. They're the Destiny guys, and I don't play Destiny. So it really wouldn't matter to me. But I could see why so many people would look at Bungie as a good option for Sony. But I don't think Bungie will sell. I don't. And I don't think Sony would pursue Bungie. I don't think they would. From Software, though, I don't know if I have this correct. Maybe somebody in the chat can let me know or help me with this. People have told me that Sony cannot buy From Software. Is this true? I don't think that's true. I think Sony can, but I remember, isn't From Software, aren't they owned by the Kadokawa company or something like that? And Sony would have to basically buy that to own them if they're not willing to sell. I don't know. I don't know if I have this confused. I don't know if I have it right. Somebody says Kadokawa owns them. So they would have to buy that entire entity, essentially. They would either have to convince Kadokawa to sell From Software, or they would have to buy all of Kadokawa themselves. Sony have shares in Kadokawa. Oh, that's true. They do. Yeah. I mean, I look, I'm going to be honest. I don't say this as like it's hard to have these conversations and not sound like a fanboy because people can be like, of course, but let's just cut through the BS here, man. Sony's going to have to make, like, they absolutely are going to have to make moves. We just don't know what they are, but they have to. Sony has no choice now, given the current environment, but to be more aggressive than ever before when it comes to buying studios. And I just feel that From Software is at home on PlayStation. Absolutely, I feel that way. I feel like it was proven with Demon Souls, and it was absolutely proven with Bloodborne. And I could see a game like Elden Ring being a PlayStation exclusive. And it wouldn't come off to me as like, oh, well, that was unexpected, or that doesn't fit. And I'm not saying that I would want to see Sony buy up From Software so that they could make all, no more multi-platform From Software games. But it's just when you talk about Sony needing to strengthen their output, to strengthen what they have before somebody else takes it. I know that Kadokawa owns From Software, but From Software truly, to me, is one of those studios that they belong with PlayStation, man. They belong with PlayStation, and Sony was the one who messed that up. We talked about this, I believe, last week or the week before, but I just want to reiterate, Sony was the one who messed that up. Sony had every opportunity to keep a strong relationship with From Software when they were doing Demon Souls, and they could have probably even bought them at any time. They could have bought them. I'm assuming they weren't owned by Kadokawa back then. Maybe they were, but they had a very strong relationship, and Sony absolutely, From Software was supposed to take the same route. They were supposed to have the same trajectory that, there you go, that Housemarque had, that Bluepoint had. They absolutely were supposed to have that same trajectory, but Sony thought that Demon's Souls sucked. And they were like, we're done with this. They didn't even publish it. Sony, I don't even think Sony published Demon's Souls. That's how upset they were with it. So, oh my God, you want to talk about one of the biggest blunders Sony ever made? Dark Souls should have been a PlayStation exclusive, guys. It should have been a PlayStation exclusive. I think people forget that the reason why Bloodborne happened was because that was Sony trying to mend that relationship because they knew they screwed up, man. They knew they screwed up. So From Software, to me, belongs on PlayStation. But I think as of right now, Sony's best move is to just keep building that relationship with From Software, because we could continue to see a healthy balance where From Software makes some multi-platform titles, but then they also occasionally make that awesome exclusive for Sony. I think that could work well too. So I think that's what they're going to continue to do. Adrian Lupton, member for 21 months, Play Has No Limits. Thank you so much, man. You're saying, hey, MBG, does Play Have No Limits Plus show chats like a super chat? It's hard supporting both the higher tiers and super chats too. So I was wondering how you see some people's chats more often. Well, the thing is, what you just did, this comes off as like a super chat when you use your membership. I think it's like once a month, basically a free super chat. Some people's messages, I don't know. It really just comes down to timing, man. Like when I look over at the chat, occasionally I'm not really even focused on who's typing it. I just see what's being typed or something catches my eye. But that's pretty much it. I try to have a decent balance between reading super chats, but also reading some of the chat. But the super chats obviously are more dominant and they obviously take the priority. So I'll try my best to get what I can, and I'll try to look out for my members when I can who are giving some messages. So I apologize if, it's coming off like I'm ignoring you or anything. I'm definitely not. I'm not purposely ignoring you. I'm just, it's difficult because like right now I still have a couple super chats that I'm behind with. It's a balance. What I've learned about doing this podcast for so long is it's certainly a balancing act, and it's all about prioritization. And I have things I want to say. I have topics I want to talk about. I have to acknowledge the super chats, and then I also have the other MBG, read the poor man's comment. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Super chats over memberships? No, man. I'm not saying that. come on, don't twist my words. Memberships are just as important, if not more important. That's like monthly support. So it definitely, one of the best things that YouTube did was integrate this new one free super chat per member. You know, that's awesome. It should be more than one free. It should be a couple. It should be like 3 or 4, I think, a month, right? I think that's how it should be. But I'll try my best to see. Here we go. We got Chris B says Sony does buy studios. They don't buy publishers. I don't know if Sony will ever buy a publisher, man. So it's a balancing act. Just know that if I don't read your chat, in the regular chat, don't take it personal, because it's not that. I promise you. But I do appreciate the support, man. I really do. Josh says you're saying it's once a month. Really? It's only once a month? I didn't know that. I didn't know that the membership free super chats were only once a month. I feel like that's too stingy. YouTube should, I don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. YouTube should give at least 3 or 4 a month. Once a month? That's crazy. But it's still nice. It's better than nothing, because they didn't used to have that. KD, you're saying, did you see Tam Hussein from GameSpot? I think I know. I think Timur, right? Is that who you're talking about? From GameSpot, tweet about Horizon Forbidden West. He said it's the best PlayStation game. He switched Horizon Forbidden West with Bloodborne in the tweet for embargo reasons. If that's true, that is slick. And I feel like Sony can't even be mad. You know what I mean? Sony's like, he's saying good things about our games, though, and we see what you're doing. I believe it, dude. I mean, look, I don't need at this point anybody to tell me that Horizon Forbidden West is going to be amazing. I mean, I watched that IGN preview, and I just listened to the different the improvements and the things that are being done differently, and I just watched it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. See, this is it. Like, this is the PlayStation quality here. And I do see, guys, look, I don't see a lot of it. But I do see some people really trying to downplay Horizon. And I don't need to be the guy. I don't. I had to be this guy maybe for Days Gone. Certainly with Death Stranding. Had to come out here and, hype up my games that I'm excited for. I don't have to be that guy for Horizon. People who are downplaying, I'm like, dude, look, you are free to have your own opinions, and you can say this game is going to be garbage. You can say this game is overrated. You can say this game is anything you want it to be. Most people are not going to agree, because most people are looking at this. And when I say looking at this, I'm not talking about like they're listening to influencers. No. Horizon Forbidden West is a perfect example of Sony just letting the games do the talking. And I have to emphasize that, because think about the way Sony ramped up the market. Like, way back in May of 2021, I say way back, it's been less than a year, but it feels like it was a long time ago. In May of 2021, we had a 15-minute gameplay demonstration of Horizon Forbidden West and minimal talking from the devs. It's because when they are able to just let the game speak for itself, that's all Sony needs to do, and that is Sony's greatest strength. That is their studio's greatest strength. And this is why I'm not going to come out here and argue with people and be like, let me tell you why Horizon Forbidden West is great. No. It'll speak for itself. I don't have to say a word. And so, it's nice. It is nice to see that people who are playing it right now and reviewing it, they're finding their own ways to be like, oh my God, this game's amazing. I have no doubt people who are playing this game right now reviewing it. This is why I'm glad I'm not reviewing it, because it's like I would want to share my excitement and my thoughts like nobody's business, right? And it would be so difficult to not do that. And apparently for this individual from GameSpot, it was very difficult not to do that. And so the game will just speak for itself. The game will speak for itself, and I'm very excited for it. Very excited for it. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, though. I'll have to check into that. Antonio, you're saying, which Sony studio would you trust to make a AAA horror game? You know who I think would make a great horror game? because I feel like they kind of somewhat did already. But if you're talking like a true like survival horror, like just like the horror is front and center and not like a secondary thing, I think Naughty Dog. Absolutely, I think Naughty Dog. I mean, one of the coolest moments in The Last of Us Part 2 was that part where you're like in the building and there's like something in there with you. I forget the name of the monster, but there's something in there with you that like, like, okay, this isn't a normal clicker. This isn't a bloater either. This is something else. And it just like, they kind of built this atmosphere, and not even just that part of the game though, but even like The Last of Us 1, some of the better moments were the moments with extreme tension due to just all of the, I don't know, man, just the horror of the clickers, right? Like I feel like if Naughty Dog, and I don't think most people look at The Last of Us as like a horror game. The Rat King, there we go. Yeah. See, stuff like that. I would just love to see like a Naughty Dog game that's just purely horror focused, like survival horror. I think that would be amazing. But another studio that could probably do it justice. I mean, again, it's not a PlayStation first party studio, but I would just love to see Kojima make a horror game, man. I really would. I really would. I'm sure there's another studio that could do well with horrors on top of these, but those are the two that, excuse me, come to mind. So yeah, I think that would be great. But let me see. We have Brother Natural again. You're saying thoughts on official game scores being bought and paid for, hence the polarizing scores for The Last of Us 2 between gaming journalists and gamers. I mean, I don't believe at all that that's a thing. Like, I just don't. I think it's too simple. Like, that's why I don't believe it. It's too simple to think that, oh, review scores are bought and paid for. I think it's just too simple. And if that was the case, that would have been like a whole scandal thing that we would have learned about a long time ago. That's not how it goes down. But when you talk about a game like The Last of Us 2 getting, 10 out of 10s versus there was just this insane polarization with the community, I think it's just a matter of, I mean, this is where you kind of dive into territory where it's like, well, if you're a reviewer for a game like The Last of Us Part 2, and it's your job to score this game for an outlet, and you experience what people are about to experience, you probably, I'm just going to put it out here, man. It would be pretty difficult to be that guy, to be that person where it's like, you're looking around and you're like, so this is The Last of Us 2, and this is supposed to be like the game, man. I don't think I could give it a 6. I feel like that it's that simple, man. It's like no one wants to be the guy that's like Last of Us 2, 6 out of 10. Because I think they're just afraid. I mean, I'm not saying that people who reviewed it didn't enjoy it. I think most of them did. I'm just saying that when it's like no one gave this game a low score, like no one, I don't know. It like no one's gonna be the person to say, I'm giving this a 5 out of 10 because they killed Joel in the beginning. Like, nobody's gonna do that. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm not saying anybody should do that. And this is, if anything, it just brings me back to why I don't care. Oh, did Angry Joe give it a 6 out of 10? I didn't know that. I did watch his review, but I forgot what score he gave it. And that's the thing is, like, I see somebody in the chat says, because it's not a 5 out of 10 game. Dude, that's your opinion, man. Just like somebody who says it's a 10 out of 10, it's their opinion. That's what I want to emphasize with this question is when it comes to game reviews, it does not matter at all. It doesn't. If you like a game and you think it looks good, you better play it, man. Because if you look at a review score where it's like, and I think The Last of Us 2, if there's anything it makes a case for, if The Last of Us 2 makes a case for anything, it's that this is why game reviews should not effing exist. Because you're talking about a game that got like a 93 or 94 on Metacritic and yet had like the most toxic, insane discourse of any video game I've ever seen. And if what that tells me is, holy shit, people, just go play the game or don't. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's just something that should be more prevalent with all of this. You know, The Last of Us 2, Horizon Forbidden West, Halo Infinite, just go. If you think it looks good and you want to play it, go play it. And if you have something good to say about it, go say it. If you played it and you hated it, hate it. If you have something not so nice to say about it, say it. It can all exist and it's all fine. But I'm telling you now, the last thing anybody should do, and I mean this, man, I really mean this. The last thing anybody should do is look at a Metacritic score, look at review scores, and I'm talking about scores here, by the way, and let that be the determining factor in whether or not they're going to experience a video game or not. It's best to go with your own gut instinct. And if you're not trusting in that, if you're still hesitant, then you have to dig deeper. You have to really listen to people that you feel like your interests and your taste line up with theirs. So, for example, if you were to watch Angry Joe's review of The Last of Us Part 2, I mean, if I'm not, or you know what? Here's a Nakey Jakey or whatever. Did you see his Last of Us 2 review? I think he did a great job articulating why he didn't like The Last of Us Part 2. And I was like, that lines up with me. I kind of feel the same way. But if you're somebody who watches that and you're like, I'm not hearing this guy right. Like, this doesn't really make sense to me. Then you probably would line up better with somebody who played it and was like, oh my God, this was a 10 out of 10 to me. And you'd probably be better off listening to them. So even when it comes to who you're listening to and where you're getting your information from, it's all opinions, man. And you gotta really just kind of align yourself with those who you feel like you share a similar opinion with, or that, you know, what they're saying makes the most sense to you and it just clicks. I feel like that's what's important. And so when you talk about, you know, general games media and how it's like, oh, people talk about it's being paid for and whatnot. I don't think that's true at all. I just think that when you mentioned The Last of Us 2 specifically, it's a great case for why people really shouldn't pay attention to scores ever, like literally ever. I don't think reviews should never go away. Review scores should be non-existent. Metacritic scores should be non-existent. I'm telling you, this industry would be a much better place if things such as numbered scores were gone. I'm telling you, it would be. It would be a much better place, you know? So that's how I feel. But I don't think they're going anywhere. So it's a very good question, man. I think it brings up, I think it's topical. It's topical that we talk about review scores. I know people will be like, how are we still talking about The Last of Us 2? It's not so much about The Last of Us 2 as much as it's just about we're on the precipice of multiple big games releasing, and you're going to start seeing a lot of Metacritic scores flying around, you know, and you see it all the time with the console war stuff where it's like, you know, Xbox was made fun of forever because they got low Metacritic scores. Meanwhile, Sony's getting high Metacritic scores. But like, what about the people who enjoy games that happen to have low Metacritic scores? Are they less of a gamer? Do they have terrible taste? Or is it just that everybody has different tastes? This is all. I'm just trying to cut through the crap these days. That's all. That's all this boils down to. So that was a very good question. I appreciate that, man. That one kind of got me ranting a little bit there. So, sorry if I went on a little bit. See, come on. This to me is unfair. Big Buds in the chat says, crybaby nerds' hearts were heartbroken about Joel. Dude, come on. That's like, you're whittling it down too much, man. Like when you say something like that, you're making it impossible to actually have any meaningful conversation about that game and about what occurred in that game. Do you understand that? That's what I'm trying to say. Just like somebody who says The Last of Us 2 is straight trash, like, you're also removing any potential for a decent conversation. Like, let's meet in the middle. Let's meet in the middle, you know? That's a possibility. That can happen. Rudy Tay says, can we get to the topics? LMAO. Oh, yeah, I know. We're almost an hour and a half into the podcast, and I've yet to dive into the first topic. Isn't that how this goes, though? You know what, guys? Big Buds in the chat. He then goes on to say Halo Infinite was trash. So there are just some people where there's nuance is non-existent. Nuance is not a thing. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. You know? So thank you for that question, man. I got a little bit off track here, but it's that time of the podcast, you know? All right, let's bring it back. Let's reel it back in. Let's bring it back. Okay. Lyro, once again, you're saying, I don't buy GT7 day one because it requires online, even in single player as well. So I'll wait for an offline patch, then I'll buy it post-launch. Well, I don't know. Has that been confirmed? I don't know if GT7 is going to get an offline patch. Maybe it will at some point, but I don't know. You might want to look into that, man, because they might not be planning to patch that. I did see that some people were upset about that, though, that GT7 is going to be online only. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm curious to see how well GT7 sells. Jose, you're saying, to me, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a 10 out of 10 and Ghost of Tsushima is an 8 out of 10. Jose, I would like to know what your reasoning is for that. I think that's perfectly fine, but I'm assuming maybe you just enjoyed the nuance and the detail that Red Dead Redemption 2 offered more so than what was on offer with Ghost. That's my assumption. I could be wrong about that, but and it's ironic that I would read a super chat like this after going on a rant about how review scores need to go away. Waleed says, hi MBG, Socom gets referred to PlayStation VR 2, which is the exciting part. Also, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners 2 has been announced for PSVR/VR 2. So about the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners 2, I heard that game is amazing, actually. So I hope that the sequel is actually coming to PSVR 2, because that's a game I would like to try. I've heard very good things. The idea of SOCOM in VR, that's an interesting prospect. That's very interesting. I don't know. Maybe that's what they will be doing. Maybe it'll be a hybrid game where you don't have to play it in VR. You can play it in VR or you can play it regularly. That would be doubly interesting. But I feel like some concessions would have to be made. I'm going to be honest with you right now. If SOCOM does get rebooted, I don't want to see it in VR. Because if it has to be compatible with VR, then I think some concessions have to be made. And I want to see a full-blown, like if we're going to get a SOCOM, I want to see a full-blown PlayStation 5 push to its limit SOCOM game. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want to see. But maybe, I don't know, maybe they could find a way. Maybe they could find a way where there would have to be minimal concessions. We have the Caped Crusader, again, saying, which Sony studio do you think will be the next Insomniac and pump out consecutive high-quality games at a fast rate? Believe it or not, well, I don't know, at a fast rate, that would have to mean they're a big team. I don't know, man. I feel like that's kind of up for grabs. I want to say Fire Sprite has the best chance currently just because of their sheer size, right? Like Fire Sprite has over like 500 devs and they're working on like 4 or 5 different projects. Guerrilla, yeah, okay. I mean, I kind of already looked at Guerrilla that way though, but now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, they haven't really been producing multiple titles. You know what? Yeah, no, you guys are right. Those who are saying Guerrilla for sure. Have to check something very quickly. Give me 1 second here, guys. But yeah, I think Guerrilla's the one. Okay, here we go. A lot of you guys in the chat are telling me to look at this on Twitter, okay? And read this. This comes from an individual on Twitter named Joe Miller, and he tweets 59 minutes ago, Take it with a huge grain of salt. According to account NGT. Now, this is why I'm paying attention to this. Because account NGT is an insider. Now, they are an insider that is mainly associated with Quantic Dream and Hogwarts Legacy, but they also have been talking a little bit about PlayStation. For those who, and I'm not trying to vouch for account NGT because I don't know, dude. I don't know who this person is, and I don't know how good their contacts are. All I'm saying is that 1 week prior to the Game Awards, they posted a picture, an official image of Star Wars Eclipse, and nobody even paid attention because they didn't know. So 1 week before this game was officially revealed at the Game Awards, he came out here and he was putting this out. Now, this is what this individual Joe Miller says. Take it with a huge grain of salt. According to account NGT, who has accurately leaked Star Wars Eclipse and some other things, PlayStation is interested in acquiring a massive publisher and also other studios. So here's what I'm going to tell you guys, okay? Here's what I'm going to tell you guys. I wouldn't be surprised. All right? I wouldn't be surprised. I want to see if I can find this guy, account NGT, because I want to see it word for word what he has to say. I don't know if he tweeted that out or if he answered a question. Let me see. Okay, all right. We have some clarification here. See, this is why I'm glad I looked into it a little bit more. We have some clarification here before we get ahead of ourselves. So somebody underneath Joe Miller's post, I think, tagged account NGT and says, so are they strong rumors or is it just your opinion? And account NGT clarifies. See, this is why it's good to make sure we look into this. It's just his opinion. He did not state this as if it was. Now, I don't know what his original statement was. Maybe he didn't make it clear in his original statement that it was an opinion. So naturally, people will think, oh, well, it's inside information. But he clarified. It's his opinion. So basically, what it comes down to is he is just guessing like we are. Like if I say, oh, I think Sony's definitely going to buy a publisher, that's not inside information. That's just my opinion. Not that I don't know if that's true or not, but this is where I think people need to be very careful right now, where your best bet when it comes to Sony is just expect Sony to do what they've been doing. I don't think it would be wise to set yourself up for some type of expectation that Sony is going to acquire EA. Like, I understand why there's some people who want that to happen, but you have to understand that I think it is unreasonable and unrealistic to anticipate Sony buying a big publisher because they've never done it before. I think it's understandable why you are open to the possibility because of what Microsoft is doing, but I wouldn't set yourself up for some type of, oh, it's going to happen. Because I will admit, seeing something like that tweeted out, it's easy to run with. It's easy to run with without clarification, which I'm glad we got it because it makes sense. A lot of people are thinking maybe they're having meetings right now and Sony's like, okay, who can we buy right away? Did I check Blue Box's Twitter? No, not yet. Maybe I will towards the end. By the way, guys, we have over 1,100 people here hanging out, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast with your viewership. Please do me a favor, hit that like button. We're almost to 500 likes already. Let's see if we can get to 600 likes. So we got a little bit sidetracked there, a little bit of what we thought could have been a breaking rumor, but it turns out that it's just an opinion. So I'm sure that if Sony, I want to say this too before we move on. This is so important to highlight. And I'm going to say this now so that way people who are listening, be very careful specifically with rumors and inside information regarding acquisitions. I say this because let me ask you this real quick, guys. How many rumors did we get? How many rumblings did we hear across the industry of Microsoft buying Activision? Now, I can only answer for myself. I heard nothing. I didn't see a single insider. There wasn't a rumor. There was nothing. Absolutely nothing. What this tells you, and this is so important to understand, is that if Sony really is going to buy a publisher, the chances of us knowing about it, it looks like it's going to be zero. No one's going to know. It's just going to be a thing. And I feel like that's more important than anything here, because if there's one thing that the Activision purchase taught us is that this stuff, I don't think you're going to hear about it, man. And I want it to be known that when it comes to Microsoft, literally everything regarding Microsoft leaks. Everything leaks, and this didn't. So that's something we want to keep in mind. Okay, let's keep it moving here. I'm going to try real hard to keep this podcast flowing. Leo Jimmy says, I had an argument with my Xbox friend. He was like, Sony doesn't innovate. I'm like, hello, share button. And Sony keeps producing new AAA IPs consistently. I'm going to have to agree with you, Leo Jimmy. Sony does innovate. They innovate quite frequently on different things. Now, you mentioned the share button. That is a huge innovation, and that did come from Sony, right? Granted, like the idea and the concept of a share button, I don't think is just from Sony, but they're the ones who realized it first. And I agree with what you're saying. You're talking about new AAA IPs. I don't know, man. I look at games like Horizon Forbidden West. I do look at games like Ghost of Tsushima, and I do look at some of the smaller stuff that Sony does as well. And it's like they're trying different stuff here, people. You know, they're trying different stuff here where, you know, I know everybody looks at Sony and they're like, oh, they just make the same types of games. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but I don't know, man. It took quite a bit of risk, I think, to let Cory Barlog do what he did with God of War. I think that's an innovation for sure. It's an innovation on something that already exists. I don't think anybody expected that. So I'm not trying to make it sound like Sony is the most innovative with everything, but look at what they're doing with PlayStation VR 2, man. You can't say that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, the more I think about it, you're right, Leo Jimmy. Like, you can't use that argument against Sony. If anything, you can use that against Microsoft. I'm not trying to create this console war thing. I'm not, but it's true. It's absolutely true, man. Like, Microsoft, they're not. You know what? Let me correct that. Not Microsoft as a company. Microsoft as a company is pretty innovative. I'm talking about Xbox. Xbox has been limited with their innovation, frankly, because they had to be. You know when Xbox was innovative, or at least tried to be? The beginning of the Xbox One generation, and they got decimated. Say what you want, it was maybe a boneheaded move for them to do what they did with the Xbox One and the Kinect, but they were trying. You know what I mean? You can't say that they didn't try to innovate a little bit in the living room space. They did. They just did it in the wrong way, and people were like, no, this ain't it, Microsoft. And since then, I think Microsoft's been, you know, if there's any area where Xbox has innovated, it's with Game Pass, okay? And even then, it's like, it's more of a pioneering thing, more so than an innovation thing. So I'm not trying to make it sound like Xbox isn't innovating. They are in their own ways, but come on. I just feel like when it comes to the idea of innovation, I think Sony has been a little bit more aggressive in other areas, right? Like, yeah, even, I see somebody mentioning, even the new VR controller, I mean, it's pretty, I don't know. It seems, it seems like Sony is, and the DualSense, come on. How could we forget the DualSense? The DualSense. This is innovation, man. You know, it's innovation. And I have to say that this is one of the things that modern day PlayStation, I appreciate with them, is they're trying. I know people give them a lot of crap because they're like, they're not competing with Game Pass and they're not doing backwards compatibility the right way. And it's like, look, Sony's not perfect. They have their own flaws. But between what Mark Cerny's doing with the PS5, the DualSense, what they're doing with their games, PSVR 2, I mean, come on, got to give him some credit here, man. Got to give him some credit. So interesting, you know, Interesting super chat, Leo Jimmy. TGK, you're saying I have the same cup as you. LMAO, that's funny. It's a good cup. It's one of my favorite cups. It's just a blue and white mug. I like it. So, I just want to say before we move on, I think innovation is imperative for both Xbox and PlayStation. I like that Xbox is innovating in certain areas, like with backwards compatibility, because that's what's pushing, I think, Sony to take backwards compatibility more seriously. To whereas with Sony, they innovated with the share button, and then Microsoft was like, yo, we need a share button on our controller now. You see what I'm saying? Like that's the essence of innovation. It's driven by competition. And so that's why we want to keep seeing competition. Also, Sony had to innovate in their games because they had no choice. Sony knew that the only way they're going to get players back is with good games. And the only way you make good games is by finding different ways to innovate and refine. TGK, you're saying, oh, I read that already. Leo Jimmy, again, you're saying Sony should get Ubisoft. I think the Japanese company won't sell to Microsoft. Focus on Take-Two or Ubisoft. Yeah, I mean, dude, again, if Sony is going for a publisher, it's anybody's guess. And it not only is anybody's guess if that's what they're actually doing, but it's anybody's guess on which publisher they would actually want to go for. I don't think Sony would just go for any publisher. I just want that to be known as well. If Sony were to buy a publisher, I don't think that they would just go for anybody. I don't think they would go for Ubisoft, man. And I don't think they should. I'm gonna be real. I would not be excited about a Ubisoft acquisition by Sony. I would actually be like, oh God. I would actually, I know that this is going to sound kind of arrogant, but I think Ubisoft would tarnish PlayStation Studios' reputation. I'm just being real. Then again, you could look at it as if Sony were to own Ubisoft, they could completely change them. But no. I don't think Ubisoft should go to Sony. That's all I'm saying. The Caped Crusader, stay on topic, MBG. I'm trying. But no Ubisoft. We'll see. Take-Two Interactive, I can understand why people look at them because it's like they have Rockstar. Rockstar's known for quality, so that does make more sense. Severin Evans, you're saying, I don't think Sony will buy From Software, and I doubt they would be open to that considering their games sell best on PC. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I think From Software, there was a chance they could have been acquired a long time ago by Sony, but I think that boat has sailed is what I'm trying to say. I think that ship has sailed. That boat, it's that ship. Nobody says that boat has sailed. That ship has sailed. Chris B, member for 18 months, Players No Limits Plus. Thank you so much, buddy. You're saying, I think Sony should also make another stab at MAG. It was basically a Battlefield style game. Yeah, dude. Could you imagine what Sony could achieve with a game like MAG? With modern day tech? Oh man, that'd be crazy. Sony, see, this is where Sony was trying to innovate with a game like MAG, but the tech just wasn't there. It just wasn't ready. It was too early. But I feel like if they were to try to bring MAG back now, oh man, they could do something with that. David Jones, you're saying, MBG, look at the PlayStation Lifestyle Twitter polls. I'll give it a quick check real quick. PlayStation. I hope this is worth it, man. You said PlayStation Lifestyle? Their Twitter poll? Did they even put a poll out? Oh, who has the best online service? PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo? Got like 16,000 votes. It's going to be finishing up in about an hour and 10 minutes. Maybe I'll come back and check that out. Excuse me. KD, you're saying, kind of funny that ACG has also hinted at Horizon Forbidden West being a much bigger game than Sony is showing us. KF even let it slip that Horizon Forbidden West is easily winning Game of the Year. I think KF is kind of funny. Yeah, dude. Like I said, man, I believe it. I believe it, man. I mean, when you think about the amount of 5 years of development that went into Horizon Forbidden West, there are people arguing online that they're reusing animations, and I'm like, let me get this straight. Oh, MBG, the poll is, will you leave PlayStation to play Call of Duty? I didn't see this poll. So I don't know. I guess it's just not showing up for me. But just to talk about, I got, hold on. I mean, look, I'm just saying, I'm distracted by the chat right now. Because that is a good poll, but the reason why I'm getting a little bit sidetracked right now is because I actually put out a poll of my own that I want to talk about and discuss before the end of this podcast, if time allows it. So we're definitely going to talk about that. Wow, William, thank you so much, dude, for the $50. I will certainly get to your super chat in a minute here. Very generous super chat of you for you to donate. Thank you. I'm getting to that point where I've talked for so long. Like, I've talked so much for so long. I start to jumble up my words and my tongue gets twisted and whatnot. Gotta keep it, gotta keep the train on the tracks here, buddy. That's what I'm trying to achieve. So don't worry, William. I'm going to get to your super chat. Thank you for that, bud. Let me see. Josh, you're saying, imagine if Sony got WB Games or cut some sort of deal. What could PlayStation first-party studios do with the Nemesis system? Just imagine. Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be very interesting, man. Yeah, WB, I mean, what's interesting about them as a publisher, a video game publisher, they apparently at one point were having conversations about whether or not they were going to, actually sell. Apparently they decided not to. So Gavin says pre-workout shake midstream. Yeah, I don't take pre-workout anymore, man. It doesn't sit well with me anymore. It leaves me too jittery. I got to get back on a gym routine, guys. I really got to tell you, I really got to get back on a solid gym routine. I have just been slacking so much. I've really fallen to that point, We've all been there when you get so kind of out of shape and so used to not exercising and working out that now it's like, well, got to start over. Really got to make it happen. Yeah, getting old. Yep. It sucks. So yeah, I mean, if Sony could cut some type of deal with WB Games, that would be huge. That would be. And I could see Sony actually trying to do something along those lines, like maybe trying to get in better with a publisher like WB, kind of like how they're in good with Square Enix. Maybe try to do that with a publisher like WB. I could see that. That would be pretty big. And yeah, if Sony could get their hands on the Nemesis system, dude, I'd love to see what they could do. Jerome, you're saying, what's your guess on Spartacus price monthly and yearly? For tier 2, I could see it being like $70 or even 75, knowing Sony. But I could see it being $70 a month for tier 2. And then for tier 3, I could see it being like maybe 80. This is yearly, by the way, not a month. Yearly. 70 for tier 2, 80 for tier 3 a year. Monthly, I don't know. I guess you could just, with that, you could just see it go from maybe, I don't know, monthly. See, I can't come up with the pricing schemes because I'll mess it all up. Maybe for like tier 2 a month, I could see it being $15 and then $20 a month for tier 3 if you're just doing monthly. I know people are like, a month. Yeah, I meant a year. not 70 a month. No, that the first numbers I gave out were yearly. I think people need to understand that I'm telling you now, I do not think Sony is looking to compete price-wise with Microsoft here. I could see people being quite surprised at how expensive Spartacus will be. I could be wrong, but I'm just assuming the worst here for Sony. I'm telling you, man, like, people are talking about Spartacus like, this is PlayStation Game Pass. I'm like, whoa. You might want to chill out on that. I'm not saying it couldn't be. I'm just saying right now, there's nothing to indicate that. So if you don't want to be disappointed, because I'm telling you, there are a lot of people who are like, well, here we go. Sony's going to have their own Game Pass, and that's going to be great. I don't know, man. Like, if you're expecting Sony to come out here and compete with Game Pass, like, punch for punch, you might want to, you got to chill out on that. We got to wait to see. I'm not convinced, man. I'm not convinced at all. Sony already said it wasn't Game Pass. See somebody saying tier 1, 60, tier 2, 100, tier 3, 125. Oh my God. That'd be crazy, dude. That'd be crazy. That sounds too insane. No way they would do that. Joe Wolf, you're saying, I just recently got a PS5, still have my Series X. I much prefer my PS5. Lots of games I missed out on and catching up. Just beat Ghost of Tsushima yesterday and Miles Morales a few days before. Well, I'm happy to hear that, man. Yeah, I'm really glad to hear you're enjoying the PS5. You know, a lot of people talk about how much they love their Series X, and that's great. You know, it's a great console. You're getting certainly great value there with what you're getting power-wise. Obviously, people talk about Game Pass, but I'm glad to hear you're enjoying the PS5 because those are the types of games I try to tell people about. Like, yo, I play PlayStation because of Ghost of Tsushima, Miles Morales, Horizon Forbidden West. So glad to hear that, bud. Matt York, thank you for becoming a member, buddy. Welcome to Greatness Awaits. Really appreciate it. Thank you for the support, my friend. Salvazard06 says, what about Housemarque, a survival horror game? Ah, yeah. That's a good one, actually. I talked about Naughty Dog, but Housemarque there were some pretty good horror vibes with Returnal. So yeah, I would like to see what they could do. Definitely some horror vibes with Returnal. Absolutely. Antonio, you're saying, I think Housemarque could make a good horror. So yeah, two people that I don't know how Housemarque slipped my mind. I don't know how they slipped my mind so easily. They absolutely could do, I think, a good horror game. So I agree with that. Rashdom V2, you're saying, I don't know, Sony seems to care a lot about meta. Days Gone. They do. Oh, dude, just because I'm sitting here saying we shouldn't care about Metacritic and we shouldn't care about review scores, Sony absolutely cares very much about review scores. They care very much about Metacritic. Oh yeah, that's a big difference maker for them. So I just, I hope it doesn't affect them to the point where, like when we talk about Days Gone not getting a sequel. Apparently Days Gone didn't get a sequel. It wasn't because of Sony, it wasn't Herman Holst or Jim Ryan. It was because of upper management at Bend Studio, which is so bizarre to me. So bizarre. But apparently that's why. KD, you're saying Sony isn't acquiring anyone. People need to stop, LOL. They'll acquire somebody. I just don't, again, I don't think it's going to be a publisher. Morgan Anstein, becoming a member with the Play Has No Limits Plus tier. Wow, thank you so much for choosing to support me at the highest membership tier. Really appreciate that. Magnum Visuals is saying MBG Super Chat is not working. Is that for everybody, or is that just you? Because if that's just you, I don't know, it might be like a regional thing potentially. I don't know. Guys will have to let me know if that's like an issue or not. Because if that's the case, if Super Chat's just not working, then nothing I can do about that. That's on YouTube's end. Whiskey Gaming, a member for 13 months. Play Has No Limits Plus. Thank you so much. You're saying, tuned in late. Hope your Sunday is going well. Do you think Sony would try to go halfway and buy a major stake in a publisher? Not an outright purchase. Also, finally got my 1-year badge last week. Well, congratulations, man. I definitely appreciate that support. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I think that actually is a viable option for Sony, but yeah, that could be one way they could kind of ensure that they're in good with the publishers, basically by not buying them fully, but being one of their biggest supporters, financially speaking. That could definitely be a way. Morgan Anstein, thank you so much, dude, for the $2. Working ? It is. Okay, so Super Chat's working. So thank you for that, dude. Magnum Visuals, you might want to check why it's not letting you Super Chat, because it's definitely on your end, I believe, at this point. Inspector Guru, you're saying, what if Microsoft bought Activision because they really are expecting Sony to have a real Game Pass competitor? Well, you got to go back to Phil Spencer's comments recently. He said that he thinks Sony pursuing a Game Pass competitor is not only the right thing to do, but he thinks that Sony's also going to do day and date. Now, I think that Phil Spencer was always going to say that, but if we take that for face value, then apparently, yes, absolutely, Microsoft is expecting and anticipating that Sony will have a true Game Pass competitor. So, yeah. JDTV, you're saying, I need your suggestion. Do you think it is enough to watch a recap of Horizon Zero Dawn before playing Horizon Forbidden West, or should I play Horizon Zero Dawn on PS5 again? Well, you're saying again, so I'm assuming you played it before. If you played it before and you just want a recap, I think that would suffice, because all that is there in your mind. You just need a refresher. But if you didn't play it at all, I would recommend trying to play it before you play Forbidden West. It's because it's worth it. Like, it's totally worth playing. But, if you're just looking for a recap and a refresher, I think that would be totally fine to just watch one and kind of, get primed. That's probably what I'll do too, honestly. So that's my suggestion. Shemel 2014, you're saying, honestly, WB may be the one to get the IPs are huge. Yeah, dude, we know that Sony likes their superhero stuff. Sony likes to have the brand names as well as their own IP. They like to have the Star Wars. They like to have the Marvel, Wolverine, Spider-Man. So trying to get some WB, Batman, Gotham Knights, Lord of the Rings, whatever it may be. I mean, they got the marketing rights for Hogwarts Legacy. So yeah, I think so too, man. I think WB is a publisher that Sony might want to try to continue to strengthen their relationship with. Chris B, you're saying Sony's strategy isn't to buy a back catalog to stick into a service. Sony is a publisher. Sony's publisher play would be to acquire dormant IP like Konami's gaming arm, or a stable of quality developers like Nixxes. No, I agree. That is their current strategy, man. And the big question going forward this year and this generation is, will Sony stick to that strategy? Will they stick to it? I think they do. I mean, you're talking about buying dormant IP like Konami's gaming arm. I mean, that would be the problem with that, though, dude. Here's the problem. Well, you know what? That's actually not a problem, because I don't even think Konami has many developers at this point. But if Sony were to buy IP like Metal Gear or Silent Hill and they owned it, or Castlevania, that'd be huge. But now you have to also think about development teams and who's going to be working on what, and they're going to have to get more developers. They're going to have to build more teams. So it's not as simple, I think, as people want to believe it is. I agree with you, though. I think that Sony will stick to their current strategy, but I think the biggest indicator coming up, guys, the biggest indicator as to whether or not Sony will stick with their current strategy will be, it will lie in the announcement and the reveal of Project Spartacus. If Sony positions Project Spartacus very obviously and clearly as this is a Game Pass competitor, then we know that their strategy has shifted entirely. If they come out and they're like, look, Project Spartacus is our new service, and it becomes clear that, oh yeah, this is not competing with Game Pass, then we know that Sony's sticking with their guns. They're sticking with their current strategy for the foreseeable future. Because if there was ever a time, I'm telling you, if there was ever a time for Sony to make a strategy shift clear, it would be with the announcement of Project Spartacus, whatever that is going to be called. That's what I think. William Aguilar, again, thank you so much for the $50 donation, buddy. You're saying if they buy EA, they can do a parity deal where they could say, okay, if you want future Battlefield and Medal of Honor on Xbox, you have to keep COD on ours. If you want Dragon Age 4, you give us Elder Scrolls 6. You want Mass Effect 4, we get Fallout 5. You want So essentially, William, what you're pointing out is if Sony were to buy a big mega publisher like EA, then we would have Sony and Microsoft essentially leveraging their own ownership of these games and IP to then convince the other to continue to make these games multiplat, which would in the end make it so that games that were once multiplat stay multiplat. That's interesting. I mean, that would be that would be so weird to me in a way, because it's like, it's almost like, what was the point of any of this? You know what I mean? But I don't hate to say it, but it actually, that seems like more of a possibility than you would think at first. Because if you think about overall industry consolidation, what people are saying right now is that the way it's going to work is everything is going to be divided up where, essentially you're going to have 4 or 5 big platform holders that are going to own everything. And it's going to be divided between them. If that's what eventually happens, then I think the chance, I'm not saying it will, but the chances of that type of scenario playing out, I think is more likely than we want to even entertain right now. And it could be a situation where in the end, there's these big, entities like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Steam, and maybe Amazon at some point. I don't know. Something like that, or Apple, they all own everything, and they just basically all collectively agree, we're just going to put each other's services on our services and whatever. It could happen. I mean, we will have to see, but as of right now, I don't think that's likely at all. It could happen, but I don't think right now that's where we're going to end up, because I feel like if that's how it ends with industry consolidation where everybody buys everything, then I think they're going to keep it for themselves. I really do. I don't think that it's going to turn into everybody's going to give everybody everything and be like, well, we'll give you this if you give us that. Maybe a few little things here and there, but yeah, because we've already seen this kind of happen in other industries, and you don't see that. You don't see, you don't see food chains sharing their exclusive meals and whatnot, and their exclusive items. You don't see that happening. Same thing with TV and music. But I see what you're getting at, William. Antonio, you're saying even with Kraken tech, the file size for Horizon Forbidden West is big. Oh yeah, dude. The file sizes for Horizon and GT7 are like colossal, almost 100 gigabytes each. So, yeah, I mean, if you're somebody who upgraded your SSD storage, you're probably thanking yourself. If you're somebody who didn't, you're probably thinking, I got to get on that if I'm planning on playing these. And then we have Morgan Anstein asking if the super chat's working. It is. Magnum Visuals says, don't get how people think Sony needs to compete with Game Pass. If Game Pass started because they couldn't compete, with Sony. Well, that's actually a good question, Magnum Visuals. The reason why people think this, or why this is a growing mentality, is because essentially what is happening is, and I said this a long time ago, when Microsoft made Game Pass and we became aware that, okay, they're all in with Game Pass, Microsoft decided we're doing our own thing. We're trailblazing this path. That's what we're doing. That's what Microsoft made clear. And at the time, most people, or a lot of people, were like, yeah, good luck with that. You think you're going to shake up the industry? You think you're just going to do your own thing and everybody's just going to be like, yup, this is it. This is the future. Good luck. Even I had that kind of arrogant attitude. Flash forward to where we are now. Suddenly, Microsoft gets way more serious about it than I think anybody was anticipating, where it's like, you know what? We're not just going to buy exclusives. We're going to buy entire publishers. So now people are beginning to change their tune and think, okay, maybe this is the future. Maybe Microsoft is trailblazing the future. But what it boils down to at this point is, if Game Pass was born out of necessity due to Microsoft's inability to compete in the traditional space, then the question now becomes, if Microsoft succeeds with their endeavor with Game Pass, which it seems like they are, does this mean that it's going to ultimately force Sony to have to compete in this space? Like, basically, did Microsoft effectively turn the tables? As of right now, my answer to that is no, not yet. I think Microsoft is still in the process, and I think for a lot of people, the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, or them wanting to acquire them, to a lot of people, that is the turn of the table. But I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that it's going to take a little bit more than that, but I could be wrong. Again, it's going to lie. I'm telling you, as of right now, the short-term future hinges on Project Spartacus. Mark my words. You will get more insight into Sony's strategy over the next 5 years with the release of, or the announcement of Project Spartacus than we have in a long time. I'm telling you right now, that will give us our answer. Because if Sony comes out with Project Spartacus and they're like, and we're going to put PlayStation exclusives at certain periods of time into the service, then that is Sony effectively saying, like, yeah, we're banking, like we are banking on the future of being services as well. And Sony might do that. But if Sony comes out and they just, I just am visualizing a level of disappointment, but maybe not for us, but across the industry. Like, people who are buying into Game Pass, people who are all about, like, yes, like Game Pass, value, deals, cheap gaming, you know what I mean? Having access to all these games at a cheap price point. If Sony comes out and they're like, that's not what this is, you know what I mean? Like, that's not, I know somebody says that those are Xbots. It's not just Xbots, though, as you say. It's believe it or not, there are a lot of casual gamers who do like the appeal, understandably so, of Game Pass. We need to understand that. The casual gamer instinctively finds Game Pass appealing. Why wouldn't they? It's cheap, and it offers games. You know what I mean? And so when you see Microsoft basically sweetening the deal by, like, a lot, like, hey, Activision, Call of Duty, Game Pass, huh? I mean, a lot of people are gonna be like, hell yeah, like that may not be me, that may not be you, but millions of gamers are, you know what I mean? So we're gonna see just how much Sony is willing to dig their heels in and really get in that stance where it's like, we are sticking to our guns here. I don't know that they're going to, though, because Jim Ryan is different than past PlayStation leadership. And I think we can all agree on that. Jim Ryan is doing the smart thing that anybody in charge of PlayStation would do right now, which is, our games are selling millions of copies at full price. Continue to sell them at full price. High quality games are what makes PlayStation a lot of money. Let's keep going. But Jim Ryan has proven to me that he's not the PlayStation executive that is sitting back, like, I guess what you would imagine a Nintendo executive is doing, and saying, our way is fine. And that's what we're sticking with now, and 10 years from now, and forever. You know what I mean? As long as we possibly can, we're fine. I don't see Jim Ryan. See, we have to also realize when we talk about Project Spartacus, I'm going to get to these other super chats in a second, guys. When we talk about Project Spartacus, we also have to understand who is behind Project Spartacus. It's not Sean Layden. Okay, it's not Shuhei Yoshida. It's not Jack Tretton. It's not what's the other guy? The other Andrew House, right? I think that's his name. It's not, it's Jim Ryan. Okay, it's Jim Ryan and the new leadership behind Project Spartacus. Jim Ryan is the same person that in his last interview said, I love that tens of millions of people can play our games, but I would love it even more if hundreds of millions could. This is why I'm saying that even though I can very easily visualize Sony coming out here and saying, basically revealing Project Spartacus to a lot of people's disappointment, like, oh, so this isn't a Game Pass competitor. This is just your own thing, and it's not, it doesn't even seem that great. You know what I mean? Like, I could see it kind of disappointing in a way the service people who are excited. I also can see it doing quite like the opposite. I can almost see Sony basically in one fell swoop almost setting the tone where it's like, yeah, services are the future here. Project Spartacus is PlayStation's future in the long run. I could say that. I see that happening. I could. And I don't know that I would be on board with that. Like I've told you guys, I know that a lot of people kind of throw some shade our way where it's like, oh, I guess you're excited for a service now that it's Spartacus. I'm like, not really. It's interesting because it's like, okay, Sony's getting serious. I'm paying attention. I'm ready to hear what is this Spartacus, but I'm not genuinely excited because it's just not the thing that appeals to me at a core level. It's just not. But I'm certainly interested to know the implications of this Spartacus service and what it means for the PlayStation brand. One of the topics that I had written down here, guys. See somebody saying Sony charging $70 for trash games, but Xbox is evil. Bro, come on, man. Literally nobody's saying that. Literally nobody's saying that. You're the only individual in this entire stream saying that, man. I don't know what to tell you. I don't even know where you got that from. Anyway, I swear, man, this is why, guys, this is why I have to apologize to my members who are saying things in the chat, because you're not saying ridiculous things. Therefore, like when I see the most ridiculous thing said, it catches my attention. I'm too easily baited in with that stuff. But Aaron, you're saying MBG, there's one thing people need to learn about Jim Ryan is that he's mostly a businessman. That's true. Zanarkhan Blitzer says troll. Matt York says there's quite a few trolls in here. Yes, there are. There are. But it's just because I see that not just from trolls. I actually see that from people online where I'm like, bro, nobody's saying, at least I'm not saying, and I don't think a lot of us are saying, nobody's saying that Xbox is bad for wanting to offer a value or a deal. No, the only time I see people thinking that Game Pass might be bad or that business model is the long-term possible detrimental implications it could have on AAA gaming. That's all it is. That's all it is. Jim Ryan in the chat saying Xbox is Satan. You heard it here, guys. Jim Ryan's here and he does not like Xbox. He's making it known. Oh, man. Let me see. Yeah, AAA gaming. Jim Ryan spitting facts. I love it when it just goes completely off the rails. Anyway, you know what? I say this too. When I see people with those names like Jim Ryan in the chat, I like almost imagine, what if it really was though? What if it was really Jim Ryan and he just was like, nobody will know it's me. And I'm over here, I'm like, guys, that's really Jim Ryan. He's like, oh man, how do they know? And he just disappears, never returns. Sorry, it's just, you talk about this stuff so seriously for so long. It's like, gotta laugh a little bit, Gotta have your fun where you can. All right, let me see. I got some more super chats. We're gonna talk more about Project Spartacus before the end of the stream, though, because there's more I want to say about it. Josh, you're saying, I said about a month ago to prepare. Big tech is clearly pushing for society to go to this Matrix-like reality. Facebook, now Meta. Microsoft spends $69 billion on Activision Blizzard and immediately talks about the metaverse push. Oh my God, dude. What was that? Somebody, chat, please let me know real quick before we continue. What was that thing that came out? It was like an advertisement from Facebook where it showed people like literally living and existing in a virtual world. And it was horrific. It was utterly horrific. I'm like, oh my God, they're actually no, like I can't deal with this. This is making me feel like I'm going to have an existential crisis here because they're actually pushing this shit. Like they want you to wake up in the morning. I'm not even kidding. Like this ad, they want you to wake up in the morning and rather than spending time like with your family or your loved ones or paying attention to your fucking kids, they want you to put a fucking headset on and go out there and be like, I'm anywhere I want to be, being anybody I want to be. And I'm like, this is genuinely horrifying. Please kill it with fire. Please. Oh my God. I thought it was a joke. I legitimately thought it was a joke where I was like, oh, this is some good satire. And I'm like, oh my God, this isn't satire. This is real. This is actually real. And this is why when I see people talk about, bro, PlayStation Home can be the metaverse, I'm like, I'm okay. I'm good. I mean, I understand like the concept of like we can have a virtual hangout space. You know, I get that. But when it gets to this level where it's like, holy shit, they actually are trying to insert us into a matrix. I'm good, man. I'm good. I don't need that. Oh, and what was that other thing? Guys, was it Walmart where they had like a virtual shopping experience? And I'm just like, oh God, why would anybody, like, I know this is like the early days, but for the love of all that is holy, please stop pushing for this in this way. This is dumb as shit. Like, yes, it is sad. It's dumb, it's sad, and it's frankly concerning that this is what the big it's almost like the people up top at these corporations, money is no longer a thing that they have to worry about, and they're just bored, and they're like, well, what can we do? That sounds crazy. Like, let's do this. Like, let's not do that. It is the future. Join us, MBG. I don't know. To each their own, man. To each their own. I'm just saying, for me, diving into PlayStation VR 2 is like for a big thing. I think that's as far as I go, man. I think that's as far as I go. Holy shit. Josh, thank you for bringing that up, man, because you totally reminded me that I came across that, and I was just like, I was just disappointed. I was just disappointed and scared and frightened and just a mix of emotions. Josh, again, you're saying it seems big tech is aggressively forcing this. Dude, I don't know, man. You're right. Like, things are being like very heavily pushed, man, in a concerning way where it's like, but you know what's profound about this? Because I just had this realization right now. It's almost like I do kind of feel like Neo waking up a little bit here. It's like, I just realized that I made fun of this and I laughed at this through Twitter. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh my God, like it's like becoming layered now, people. It's becoming layered. This isn't good. This isn't good. This is how they get you. MBG always thinks he's Keanu Reeves. Oh, dude. It's becoming layered. Help. Help. Somebody help. We need help. We're not okay. All right. I got really derailed there, but crazy to think about. Okay, let's get back on track with reality in our own virtual world here in this stream. Okay, this is the only virtual world I want to exist in. JDTV says, did you see Raf Grassetti, the creative art director of God of War, received massive, in all capital letters, backlash due to a bad pro NFT tweet he posted? I did not. I've been seeing this more and more. You know, we talk about the metaverse, we talk about NFTs. I mean, I just feel like I can't keep going on with this shit, you know? Like, every week it's like, who is going to be the guy to come out and be like, so about those NFTs? I mean, you have a Ubisoft executive, I shit you not, coming out here and basically saying, you guys just don't get it. Okay? You don't get the NFTs. You don't get why we want to make money off them. You just don't get it. And I'm like, get the fuck out. Just get the fuck out. Like, I'm serious. Like, that's your response? That's your response to your fan base who doesn't want NFTs is we don't get it, get out and never come back. I'm serious. Like, that's where I draw the line, bro, where it's like, NFTs, no. Metaverse, no. And if this is the future, I'm still going to say no. All right? These people need to take this shit and shove it up their ass. I don't mean to get this aggressive. I don't mean to get this hostile, but they really do. And I'm not, I know that, see, this is the type of culture, dude. Here we go. We're about to go off. I hope you guys have your seatbelts on because we're about to go off. This is the type of culture that is being cultivated in 2022, where let's all be so happy and so overly positive and optimistic and everything's just so great that all these people have to do to pull the wool over your eyes is just that. That's all they got to do to get away with it. That's all they got to do. If we just convince everybody that we can no longer think for ourselves, we can no longer feel real things, right? We're not allowed to do that. No, we can't question anything. We just have to be happy and pat each other on the back at all times and everything, and hold hands and sing, and everything will be great. So now we can just usher in the metaverse like it's fucking nothing, bro. I mean, you gotta be kidding me with this shit. I can't believe it. And it's almost like when the people drink the Kool-Aid and they come out here and they're like, oh my God, drink this fucking Kool-Aid right now because it's amazing. I'm telling you, take it. And everybody's looking at them like, are you out of your goddamn mind? I'm not drinking that shit. And they're like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? No, this is the future. Like, no, bro, you drank the fucking Kool-Aid. That's what happened. All right. Holy hell. I'm just getting upset because I'm like, this shit's real, dude. Like, it's happening right in front of us. And people are like, each week you're seeing more and more people are like, the metaverse, NFTs, this is the future. And I'm like, yo, I'm trying to spend less time on my phone. And you want me to put on a headset and buy NFTs? Dude. And I have to say this too. I understand that there are people that want these things to work for good reasons. Like, I'm not saying that anybody who sees a possible future for any of this stuff, I'm not trying to group them all together and say you all are stupid and bad people. No. I'm not saying that. Like, we know that these big corporations like Square Enix and what was it, Sega? Was it Sega recently that did it with the NFTs? It's like everybody's jumping on it. And Ubisoft, we know you just want money. Like, we know that. That's so easy to identify. But then when you get these other corporations that are like, we want you to exist in our world now. It's like, what? What? And this is what I'm saying. Like, people need to wake up a little bit here and be careful with what the hell is being pushed onto them. And you know, telling you, man, all this stuff is being sold with big smiles and everybody's happy and the world can be great as long as you don't have to live in the real world. It's so crazy to me, man. So there's your rant. There's your rant for the podcast. I have to go off on it because, look, maybe one day I'll be a believer. Maybe one day, you know, I'll experience something and I'll be like, you know what, guys? I was totally wrong. Reality sucks. Let's go here. Let's NFTs, metaverses. Let's go all in. You know, maybe that day will come. And who knows? Maybe PlayStation will be the one to convince me. PlayStation will be like, no, MBG, you don't have to live in the real world. Come to our virtual world. You know, come be Kratos. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to come be Kratos now. I don't want to live. I don't want to be here anymore. It could happen. I'm just saying. You're saying this was one of your weaker rants, MEG. I know. It's because I'm not that. Like, come on. I'm not going to go off the rail. I mean, I don't know. To a lot of people, I already did go off the rails. But I'm not going to go in that hard with this. Because the truth is, I'm not paying that much attention to it. But I notice it's creeping in. It's creeping in more and more where I'm like, I'm not trying to be part of this conversation. And they're just finding a way to seep through the cracks. So there you go. My blood sugars are a little bit low. That's probably also why the rant isn't as intense as it could be. But I don't know, man. The future, right? What is the future? It's a difficult conversation. Breathe, MBG. You're not wrong, but breathe. Yeah. Where was even the F-bomb? I don't know. I guess it wasn't worth an F-bomb. But anyway, we got to get back on track here. We got to circle around, bring it back, because I do this every time. Be Kratos. It's the only way to go. Okay. I apologize. I have a couple more super chats to get to. I didn't expect those to be the super chats that set me off, But here we are. Rory Grimshaw, you're saying services don't excite me, games do. Exactly, man. Like, you have that traditionalist mindset that I do, where I think something that a lot of people forget, there's a lot of PlayStation players who care about physical games. There's a lot of PlayStation players who still care about physical games and that the physical nature of interacting with games. I think that a lot of people tend to forget that when you talk about services being injected into whatever platform, there's no room for that. Like, the idea, I think, like, Game Pass and people who love it, you do have to understand that if you fully embrace Game Pass, and that's like, hey, I love this is how I want to play my games, then physical games no longer exist to you, really. I mean, they can if you want them to, but for people like me, that's another reason why I'm also not really excited about, I'm not excited about a service, because I want to buy games and I want to own them and I want to put them on my shelf and I want to collect them and I want to have them for the future. It's something, I just want to have something tangible. I know that some people are like, oh no, that's inconvenient, but it's not for me. It's what I like. So that inherently is going to immediately turn me off to any service. Clammy True Colors says, always hated this notion from Phil Spencer that, quote, gaming is for everyone. Every gamer is the same, unquote. No, I feel AAA premium console gaming is only for a specific audience. Microsoft wants to target the non-gamers. No, I agree with you, Clammy True Colors. And that's the thing here. You talk about the race to the bottom. And this is where but a certain part of the Xbox fan base, I think, has always kind of misconstrued my stance on paying a premium price for a video game. People made it like, I got to think of how I'm going to word this. I'll put it to you this way. When Sony comes out and says, we are going to charge $70 for our AAA premium exclusive video games for the PlayStation 5. And I say, okay, I'm willing to pay that for probably most of the games you offer, because I like the quality experience that you guys offer. I believe it is worth paying that price. I will get my money's worth, and I am okay to support it. So many people have taken that like terminology I just used and just completely scramble it, where they say, so you're okay with Sony charging $70? I bet you would be okay if they charged $80. So you don't care, right? You don't care about getting a good value or getting a good deal. I'm like, whoa. Like, no, it's not about just the price point. It's about what you're getting for that price, what I believe I am getting. And I think people need to just be careful what they wish for. That's all I'm saying here. You need to be careful what you wish for, because if Sony comes out and they say to me, we can't do the Game Pass model with our games, and I say, well, why not? I would like to pay $10 to get access to the games you offer. And they say, because it's not sustainable. We are putting $100, $150, $175 million into these games. We would go under if we tried to put these games into a $10 a month service. We go under. Either that, or we have to reduce the budgets to these games to like 60 million or less. But instead they turn and they say, we need to increase the price of our games by $10 to be able to maintain, to be able to be profitable, but still be able to push this quality. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is where it's like, I'd rather hear that. I'd rather hear that than hear, we're going to put these games in a service but we don't know if it's going to work in the long run. Like, we may have to ultimately reduce the budgets, which will ultimately reduce the overall quality of these games. And it's because of what you're pointing out, Clammy True Colors. It's because, yes, absolutely, this is the goal of Microsoft. And it is honestly my fear that this will eventually become Sony's goal as well. And I hope it doesn't. I don't care how gatekeeperish it sounds. I do not care. I'm my own person. I have my own feelings and my own opinions. I don't believe that every single person is a gamer. At least not the type of gamer that I am. I'm not saying that arrogantly. I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm above people. No. It's just that I have a certain taste when it comes to gaming. I have certain things that I like and certain things that appeal to me that I know for a fact do not appeal to a lot of other people, maybe even the majority of people. And I'm okay with that. The question is Sony okay with that? Microsoft isn't. Microsoft made it clear years ago that they want everyone as a gamer. And I don't blame Xbox. Clammy, I know you're saying that you don't like this notion from Phil, but I cannot blame Phil Spencer for having this notion. Do you know why? Because Phil Spencer's job was to convince the higher executives, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, his job was to convince him, why should Xbox stick around? Look at the culture that Microsoft has as a company. Microsoft is a global force here. Microsoft is all about unification, unity, bringing, and that's good. That's all great. Like it's a worldly view, right? It's not limited in scope. So naturally, the only way Phil Spencer was going to convince Satya Nadella is, what if we can make everyone a gamer? We're over here trying to get people who are buying PlayStations to buy Xboxes. What if we look beyond that? What if we get everybody, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, your nieces, your nephews, your pets, right? Let's make them gamers. This is the mentality behind Microsoft. And I'm not saying there's inherently anything wrong with it. Saying, MBG, I'm not sure I agree with the conflation of inclusivity and lowering quality. Nintendo gets more people gaming without sacrificing quality. Well, that's true, but you also have to understand you do not get the same type of games from Nintendo that you get from Sony. You could make the argument that Sony or Nintendo is inherently from the start, from the jump. I'm not saying they changed to this, but they were from the jump more kid-friendly. Overall, therefore, they just automatically have a wider appeal because it's kids, right? Everybody's having kids. Everybody knows, somebody who has kids, whatever it may be. Everybody can relate, to these games that Nintendo's putting out. But Sony is not doing that. Sony's like, how do we get 100 million people to want to play God of War? I have no idea. Because all I can think to myself is maybe 100 million people don't want to play God of War. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, I think Sony will reach for this. I think they will at least try. Because look at the peak concurrent players on PC. Look at the peak concurrent players on PC for God of War. What was it, like 75,000? Right? 75,000? Something like that? I wonder what that number would look like if it was $10 for God of War. How much higher would that number go? What if it was free? What if God of War was free on PlayStation and Xbox? Not Xbox. Well, on Xbox, that'd be a whole different story. If it was free on PlayStation and PC, how high would you hit 80 million people playing God of War? Would you hit 90? Would you hit 100? No, I don't think so. I do not think so. And that's because a game like God of War, games will never be as accessible. Games will, like God of War, will never be as accessible as, I don't know, certainly movies and music and TV shows, certainly. But even multiplayer. What if Sony made a free-to-play God of War multiplayer game? Could that hit 100 million players? Could it? See, these are the questions I ask because you just have to think about the bottom line, the end goal, the end game. And I just don't know that this future that people talk about for video games is one that I'm going to be excited about because it goes against what already is established. What's already established is 100. Look, you're not going to get 50 million people to buy Horizon Forbidden West. You're just not. There's no way you can do that because it seems there is a ceiling here. I just do not look. I'm going to boil this down because I'm really starting to kind of lose the plot here. What this boils down to is I do not want Sony to abandon the current audience that has made them what they are. And I do not want them to shift too dramatically what it is that they do better than anybody for the sake of trying to chase the millions of people that have no interest in what they're doing. If 100 million people cared about God of War, then 100 million people would be playing God of War. I understand Jim Ryan's frustration, and I agree with it. If anything, Jim Ryan is showing his love for what PlayStation does. God of War is amazing. Everybody on the planet, well, not everybody, but almost everybody on the planet should experience God of War. That's how good it is. I feel that. I get that. And I get that from Phil Spencer, too, where he's like, everybody should be playing this. Everybody should be a gamer. But I just feel like you got to kind of look at, I don't want to say look at the limitations, but you got to ask yourself, why can't we sell 100 million copies of God of War? People will immediately say, because it's exclusive. Well, what if it's not exclusive? What if God of War is available literally everywhere? What if you could play God of War anywhere? It's no longer an exclusive. Would it sell 100 million? No, it wouldn't. I mean, even when you look at just gaming, you look at like the best-selling games of all time, or like some of the best-selling franchises. GTA is a good example. Like, GTA is one of those rare games where it's like this, like GTA 5 is, I don't know, how many copies has GTA 5 sold? Like, well over 100 million at this point, right? I would have to double check. I'm just curious. Let me see. 155 million copies for GTA 5 in 2021. And this is what I'm saying, like, you think you're going to do that with games like Halo, with games like Gears of War, with games like Horizon Forbidden West, with games like The Last of Us? Never gonna happen, man. And I say this because it shouldn't happen. You shouldn't try to force that. You shouldn't try to find a way to force that to happen because it's not going to, because it doesn't need to, because it turns out that the people who care about these types of experiences are already here. And if you hit the ceiling, then fuck it, you hit the ceiling. And I know that it's pretty much useless to keep going on about what I'm saying because PlayStation is a business. All right, PlayStation and Sony is a business. They want to grow. They want to expand. And I understand. It's just like Microsoft. You know, you look at how big Microsoft is as a company compared to Sony. No wonder they're buying Activision. No wonder they're buying Bethesda. No wonder why they're literally going to install Game Pass in your brain 5 years from now. You know, like look at how big they are. You say I'm living in the past. This is old thinking, buddy. Nobody in business will agree with this mindset. And that's the thing, man. It's like I fear that you are correct. And I would see that's where I think people, they hear me wrong about Game Pass sometimes, right? Somebody says, so no topics today. I guess not, bro. I guess not. I wrote down topics and I haven't even read from a single one of them. But to be fair, we've talked about most of it already. Most of the stuff I had written down. But I just want to say that I think people get me wrong with Game Pass. They think I just hate Game Pass because it's Xbox and I hate it. They think I hate Game Pass or I hate on it because I don't want a good value in gaming. I don't want a good deal in gaming. Like, no, it's just because I don't know. I'm not convinced that I'm going to be proven wrong yet. I'm just not. I'm not convinced that I'm going to be proven wrong. I'm not convinced that Sony's going to come out here with Project Spartacus and be like, here's our own Game Pass. We're dropping games into PlayStation Spartacus day and date, and they will remain at the exact same quality level that they are now. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And if it does, I'll eat my shoe. I'm not really going to do that. Don't hold me to that because I know people will. But if that day ever comes, I would be in complete and utter shock. Because I would be like, holy shit, you're telling me you can give me a deal as good as Game Pass, but give me games as good as PlayStation's? Sign me up, bro. But I don't think it's going to happen. I do not think it's going to happen. So thank you, Clam. I'm at that point clearly with my podcast where every super chat's going to set me off into some kind of rant. So thank you for that, Clammy True Colors. Aaron Yogurt, you're saying, guys, you got to try Horizon without crosshairs. It makes the tribal hunter element even better. Maybe I will try that at some point. Yazer, you're saying services don't excite me. Triple anus does. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, bro. What kind of shoe? A gummy shoe. There we go. I could eat that. Clammy True Colors, again, you're saying we don't need many, many more millions of casuals. And I know that's like, people get upset about that because like, that's gatekeeping mentality. And I'm like, is it gatekeeping mentality though? Is it like, there's the whole argument with difficulty in gaming, you know, from software games and like, should Dark Souls have a difficulty? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I don't say that as a pompous ass. I don't say that as like, you're not good enough to experience Dark Souls. Get good. Like, no, I'm not actually saying that. I'm saying that, dude, this is a handcrafted experience, man. And I know that not everybody's going to be able to experience it because not everybody should. This is what it is. Do not try to change what it is. Do not. Just find something else if you can't. That's all I'm saying, man. Like, this is where I'm saying, like, we are at this inflection point where it's like, we need to change everything to fit everyone. Like, no, we don't. Let there be different flavors. Let there be different types of things to experience. It's called variety. Last I checked, that's what people called the spice of life. Not everybody needs to play Dark Souls. Not everybody needs to beat Dark Souls. Not everybody needs to be good at Dark Souls. Just like not everybody needs to find God of War appealing enough to want to go out and buy a PlayStation to play it. This is all I'm saying, man. This is how I feel about this stuff, you know? And I can't help it. You know what? And I'll put it this way. If somebody wants a Dark Souls with a difficulty option, then why, you know, somebody will make that. You see what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to ask Miyazaki to change his ways. We don't have to ask him or force him to make it. No, let somebody else make that. Make a very Dark Souls-like experience. Throw in a difficulty option. There you go. You know? All right, I got to chill out because I'm really going off now. I'm really going off on tangents like nobody's business here. KD, you're saying VR is really cool tech, but when you watch clips of people playing games like Blade and Sorcery 2, it only looks like psychopaths play this game, LOL. Yeah, dude. I know, man. I know. That's the one thing about embracing VR for the first time that I'm nervous about. Like, I don't want to break anything, and I don't want to look like a weirdo, but something tells me both of those things will happen. For some reason, I imagine myself trying to play a horror VR game, and like I'm sitting in front of my TV while I'm doing it, and I just throw my headset at my TV. And I don't realize what happened until after it happened. I see that happening. So I hope it doesn't. Let me see. Now, I also just want to say when it comes to the difficulty argument, people talk about accessibility, like for people who are actually physically incapable. And I get that. Like, I get that, you know, people who have physical disabilities, you don't want to see a situation where it's like, well, this is just like, this is going to be an impossible game for them to play. But again, but sometimes it's just how things are, you know, like it doesn't have to be all bad. You know, there are just some things that I'm never going to experience, and I'm okay with it, you know? I just feel like sometimes people, I understand, I get the idealism behind everything. I do, like the good intent. But sometimes you just have to look at reality for what it is, and you know, this is why I feel like people talk about it's almost like, is this the human collective, the human consciousness as a collective? Is this where we're going, where it's like we want to be free of this physical prison? I don't know, man. I think that's where we're headed. I'm starting to think that's what this is all coming down to, bro. Gaming and all. We want to be free of our physical prisons here. This is what happens when I talk for 2 hours and 45 minutes straight. I'm talking about being in a physical prison. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Maybe there's something to that, though. Do you ever think of that? Do you ever think maybe you would be happy if you owned nothing? Yeah, let that one sink in for a minute. I'm just kidding, of course. You know, I'm like desperately, I'm looking at these upcoming super chats and I'm like, please let these super chats bring me back on rails here. Let them bring me back. All right, let's see. Katie, again, you're saying that Ubisoft exec wasn't wrong though. Gamers don't get NFTs, lol. Dude, okay, so I've actually done quite a bit of research into NFTs. All right, and I'm not going to go on some tangent here. All I'm going to say is after doing some research on NFTs and after having them explained to me by multiple different people, you cannot convince me they are not a scam. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You cannot convince me they are not a scam. So, topics of the podcast are now metaverse. KD, again, you're saying drink the metaverse Kool-Aid, MBG. Oh, wow. I have quite a few. Oh, I have more super chats to get to than I thought. Okay, let me see. Chris B says, woot, metaverse / NFT MBG rant. Punished MBG is back, guys. Punished MBG. I love that. That's a Metal Gear Solid 5 reference. I understood that reference. Darkborn, you're saying, I think NFTs could work, but only in a true virtual world, like in Ready Player One. That movie had true NFTs. It's crazy, but it might go that way. Well, that's the thing, is they go hand in hand with each other. They intertwine. So, yeah, I mean, if that's the future, then I guess, yeah, I guess so, man. I guess so. John E says, the day physical copies die, I'm gonna stop playing. See, I don't know if I could make that commitment. Like, I would be extremely upset, but I don't think I would stop playing. I'll be a miserable gamer. You know, I just spit. I just laughed and I just spit everywhere. Hate it when I do that. I hope I didn't spit on the camera. Darkborn, you say, what if Game Pass had one NFT voucher given to each subscriber per month? LMAO, that would push it hard. The loss of loot boxes birthed NFTs, though. Dude, yeah, I mean, if it's not one thing, you know, you pull one weed and like 3 others pop up, right? When MVG says, I'm not going to go on a tangent, you may as well just strap yourself in. Yeah, it's true, man. It's true. Magnum Visuals, you're saying Game Pass is not for everybody. I only have 2 hours a day to play my games, and I would rather play a selection of premium games than to spend time browsing. Yeah, so that's how I feel too, man. Like, that's why Guardians of the Galaxy is not the longest game. It's pretty long. It's pretty long, but it's not the longest game. Certainly by any means. For a single player game, it's I think it's like what? It took me about like 20 to 25 hours to beat, and I think that's on the, the higher end. But I feel bad. I know this is going to sound crazy. It's not that I feel bad. It's just I bought that game at discount. I bought that game for $30. And I wish that I had actually bought it at full price, because that is a game that I feel like that deserves a full price purchase, because it's a good quality single player narrative driven game. And I know it's Marvel, it's Guardians of the Galaxy, it's a known quantity, but we don't get enough stuff like that. I didn't buy the Avengers game. Do you know why I didn't buy the Avengers game? Because when I saw that they were making it a service, I was like, that's not what I wanted from an Avengers game. And I already had little interest. Now I have no interest. So therefore, they got $0 of my dollars. And when I see them do something that's pretty much the polar opposite with a game like Guardians of the Galaxy, I feel kind of bad, where it's like, I wish I could have given them a full price purchase for this, because this is what I want. I want to send the message that I will support this wholeheartedly with a full $60 purchase, because I want more of it. And I took my good old time with it. And I hear what you say, Magna Visuals. Like, I don't have all the time in the world to play. When I play, I like to really get into it and extract what I can out of it, take my good time platinuming it. And so I hear what you're saying, Magnum Visuals. Game Pass is not for everybody, and I feel like it's not for me currently. Anyway, KD, you're saying, MBG, please try Game Pass one day. You'll see most of the hype is all console war bullshit. It's full of mainly indies and AA games, no AAA third party. I'm not shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if that's true. Like, I think I've always got this feeling with Game Pass. And again, this is not me trying to slight Game Pass. I'm just saying it's the feeling I got based off of the marketing and what other people would tell me. It's more of a numbers game than anything. Like, it's more like you're going to be so overwhelmed. It's like when people would tell me about like PlayStation Now, like 800 games. Like, I don't care. Like, if I want to see a lot of games in front of my face, I just got to go to the PlayStation store and be completely overwhelmed by what the fuck I'm looking at. The biggest appeal to me with Game Pass, truly, and this is where I do think that if Sony is able to make this happen in some way, it's the fact that you can try games, right? Like, you can try games before you consider buying them. I think that that's something that Sony has to lean into with game trials. Absolutely, I think that's something they could do with their Spartacus service. That would be a big deal. So, but yeah, I hear you, KD. That's kind of the feeling I got. On Space D, you're saying 2.9 million copies sold at $70 generates around 200 million of revenue. 2.9 million Game Pass Ultimate users generates around $520 million on revenue. Sony just loves old numbers. Well, I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, I do understand this idea where it's like, well, if you can get your subscriber count high enough, eventually that revenue can trump pretty much anything that traditional sales would be able to achieve. I get that, but it cannot be that simple, Space D. The reason why I say this is because if it truly was as simple as you make it sound, if it was, then Sony would already be doing it. They would already be doing it. But also, I'm assuming when you talk about 2.5, I'm assuming you're talking about yearly revenue. I mean, I don't know. We would have to see. This is where we don't have access to the data. We don't have enough data. We don't know how many subscribers Microsoft actually has on Game Pass. We don't know how many of these people are actually paying $10 a month. How many people are canceling? What counts as a Game Pass subscriber exactly? It's even with Sony. Like, how many games are they selling at full price versus how many are they selling when they go on sale? These are just things that we would have to take all these things into account. I'm just simply saying, if it was as simple as you're boiling it down, Space D, and if it was that simple, Sony would already be doing it. But it's not that simple. So, see, somebody give you a timestamp. The podcast is at 2 hours and 53 minutes. KD, you're saying, I heard Destin has already been testing a new chip for Game Pass for your brain. Oh, for the last couple of years. Yeah, okay. I see what you did there, KD. I understood that reference. Josh, you're saying CV has everything to do with this digital matrix push, almost like it was on purpose. Outside isn't safe. You can do everything you want in our metaverse. That's too conspiratorial, man. I can't go there. It's too much. Although I will say the timing is interesting. Certainly interesting. Aaron, you're saying making Sony games more appealing to casuals would be making another 5 to 10 Horizon games in a Ubisoft fashion. More ridiculous each time. Yeah, that's what I mean, man. It's like, we've seen this already. We've seen what happens when you try to force your games to be more appealing than they actually are to a wider audience. It sucks. It sucks every damn time, dude. When you think about the things that make games that we love special, it's not their wide appeal. You know what I mean? It's not that. This is why I get confused at people celebrating, oh, Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, Call of Duty. Like, what do you mean? Didn't everybody hate Call of Duty? Didn't everybody say that the thing that sucks about Call of Duty is it's Call of Duty and it's the same thing every single year and it doesn't stop? It is a machine, a well-oiled machine, a well-oiled casual machine that has no purpose other than to just, inflate numbers, right? Now, I understand that people are going to be like, well, now that Call of Duty is going to be owned by Microsoft, maybe things will change. And I'm like, no, it won't. Why do you think that? Like, that's my whole thing is, why do people feel convinced of that notion? What is giving you this impression? Last I checked, Microsoft made Halo Infinite's multiplayer free to play, which is fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's good. But they made it free to play to get more people on board. Now you're telling me you think Microsoft is going to make some type of boneheaded decision that they bought the game that has like the most players. I don't know if it's actually the most, but one of the largest player bases in gaming history. And you think they're just going to mess that up? You think they're just going to fuck with that and be like, well, okay, maybe we can change it? No. I'm not saying they won't change anything. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying people need to really think about what they're saying before they say it, me included. But this I have thought about. I'm not saying that there's a reason why Call of Duty succeeds. We can sit here and dump on Call of Duty every day, all day. Casual trash. I've played a lot of Call of Duty in my day, man. I'm not even going to front. I absolutely have. And I know it's there. That gameplay formula is so sweet, so addicting that this is why it still works. But it's not the gameplay formula where the problem lies. It's the rinse and repeat nature of the releases. Where it's like, oh, we know this gameplay formula is addicting, right? And we keep getting people addicted to it, but we're just going to change as little as possible. Granted, I will say this. They have changed quite a few things about Call of Duty when it comes to like gameplay, the gameplay side of things, in terms of just like the engines and whatnot. So I'm not trying to make it sound like they've done nothing. But I just think that it boils down to you gotta look at it for what it really is. People need to understand that there's a reason why Microsoft bought Minecraft and did nothing to it. By nothing, I mean they were literally like, we just want to own this. You guys rock. Like, you guys do what you do, man. You keep making that money and those numbers and be appealing. But we are gonna leave it out on everything. They released Minecraft Dungeons on everything. And I'm saying, because you have to understand that when everybody talks about Microsoft, and Xbox, and they're talking about, well, Xbox sees the bigger picture. PlayStation fans are stuck in the mud and they're left behind, and Xbox sees the bigger picture. I'm like, okay, I'm with you there, but are you seeing the bigger picture that Xbox is seeing? Because the bigger picture with Call of Duty is to not mess with it. It is a money maker. And they make money by doing what they do. They're not going to make more money by dramatically changing what they do. Just saying, man. Like, this is just how it is. It's just how it is. And I think that's fine. I'm not expecting Call of Duty to change dramatically now that they're under Microsoft. It would be cool if they did, dude. I've been saying, like, I would love to see Microsoft have the balls to come out and be like, not only is Call of Duty going to be exclusive to Xbox, but we are going to take a 5-year dev cycle for the next Call of Duty, and it's going to blow you away. I'd be like, yo, that's what I'm talking about. But that's not going to happen. Although, I might be giving Microsoft too much credit here. Maybe with Warzone, they could get away with that since it's a game as a service. But we'll see. Let me see. Darkborn, you're saying, I was excited about PlayStation Home returning until this metaverse NFT garbage. Now I'm scared Sony might jump ship into that space. They better not. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Wait, I hope my PC isn't like overheating. Anyway, I'm like smelling something over here. I'm like, that smells a little burny. But no, I kind of feel the same way as you, man, where it's like, I am interested in the idea of PlayStation Home coming back, but if that's what it turns into, and you could argue that Sony was here before anybody with their own metaverse. It was just too soon. But I don't know. I would definitely be interested to see what Sony would do with a second version of PlayStation Home. But if this is like what the future, if this is the future that these tech companies are trying to push us into, where it's like, why exist in your real life and why spend time and energy on your real life when you can spend it on your virtual life? I mean, I'm already doing too much of that, man. Like, I don't want to keep doing more of that. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, I'm okay. Like, I'm a human being. I was born into this physical body. I would like to go outside and get some sun, if that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to go out there and do things occasionally. Although I will admit, I don't do enough. I don't go out enough. So this is the last thing I need. I don't need these people encouraging me to be even more antisocial. But yeah, I hope PlayStation PlayStation Home, if it does return, they do something interesting with it and not that. Nerman, you're saying, I love your thinking, MBG. Love people alike. Our kind is vanishing, owning nothing and still being happy. The meta concept and working for paying endless bills while owning nothing creeps me out. Hope Sony doesn't go all Game Pass. Well, dude, don't even get me started into that type of deep thinking. Am I picking up Dying Light next week? Absolutely I am. When I think too deeply about things, I do kind of have like an existential crisis, because it depends on how far do you want it to go, man. How far do you want it to go? The idea of owning nothing. Do we own anything? I mean, really think about it. Do we own anything? I mean, the last time I checked, man, our entire planet in the long run is supposed to be completely engulfed by a sun that becomes a red giant. So you do with that knowledge what you will. For me, I'm not even going to try to think about it, because it's like, it makes me think, wow, I don't understand what, like, we got to get off this rock. We got to get, see, this is what I'm saying. Like, we're so focused on, finding a virtual escape that it's like, maybe we should actually be looking outward. Maybe we should be looking to space and thinking about the possibility of one day, going out there and expanding in that way. We will all be long dead before that happens. Oh, I know. That's, and then, yeah. So what's even the point of even thinking about that? There is no point. Darkborn, you're saying, also Xbox is going to just buy Activision Blizzard and tell them to do their own thing like ZeniMax. They could barely manage 8 of their own studios for years. That right there, Darkborn, is also so important to recognize with all of this. One of the biggest issues that Microsoft faces right now is with management, just in terms of sheer scope. Like, how are you supposed to manage all this? That's how. Activision is self-sufficient. Well, don't get me wrong. I think Microsoft will make some bigger changes with Activision because of their work culture problems, for sure. and everything going on there. So I have no doubt they will have a bigger impact on them than Bethesda. But all in all, they're going to be autonomous, you know, because they have to be. They have to be. D-Doc, you're saying buying COD and not make it an annual franchise is like buying a brand new Corvette and then immediately taking a chainsaw to it. It is. Dude, that's what I'm saying, man. It is. It is. KD, you're saying Microsoft didn't spend $70 billion for COD, Overwatch, WoW, etc. to stop and slow down on making these games or make new IP. Microsoft is known for multiple Forza, Halo, Gears titles. Yeah, if anything, they fit perfectly under Microsoft, right? I have a question because I've been thinking too much. I've been talking too much. I'm gonna have to end this soon because like my blood sugars are definitely low, and I tend to think more deeply and more irritably. I become more irritable. My blood sugars are low. I think that's normal. But I want to ask you guys this question because I can't seemingly answer it, and I feel like I might be wrong. Has Microsoft, okay, have they announced a new AAA IP? Is there currently a video game in development at Microsoft that is a new AAA IP that was not purchased? So, like, I guess we could count Starfield, and I know there's Redfall, but I mean, like, those games were already greenlit. I'm talking something that came from Microsoft, right? I'm seriously thinking of this because I just, you know, KD kind of got me thinking like, you know, Microsoft is known contraband. Okay, yeah, contraband. I feel like, yeah, I remember that announcement during E3. I'm not even saying this to be like a certain way. I just genuinely, you got me thinking like, yeah, Microsoft is kind of, that is what they're known for, dude. They are known for like the Forza, Halo, Gears, and there's no doubt they're going to have a ton of adversity. Avowed, I guess, you know what? I feel like this is an impossible question for Microsoft because Microsoft has bought so many teams that it's like, you know, it almost becomes like, what do we even count? Like, does Avowed count because they bought the studio? Did they buy the studio and then greenlight it? I don't know. I guess that conversation is completely pointless because it's just a different situation. Is Avowed Bethesda? No, I think that's actually Obsidian. Yeah, I guess that would count. I think that would count because they didn't announce that when they bought Obsidian. They announced it after they bought them. So I think that would count. Everwild, I think that game's canceled. Or I heard it's in like development hell. So I don't know. I'm just wondering because like I feel like this is something that it'll be interesting to, I think, monitor over the next 5 years from both Sony and Microsoft is how many new IP are we going to get? Like bigger IP, you know? I don't want to see either Sony or Microsoft kind of get too comfortable and stop making new IP. You know what I mean? That's because the idea, I don't know, man, that to me, what could Microsoft do with an Activision Blizzard if they gave them like a mandate with one of their studios, like make a new IP? You know, I would be so fascinated to see like what would they do? What would they come up with? Josh, you're saying the "You Will Own Nothing and Be Happy" is an article by the World Economic Forum back in 2016. Very creepy. I will send the link to it in chat. I did hear about that, Josh. I actually do know what you're talking about. I don't think I read the article myself, but I know what you're talking about. I have heard people reference that before. KD, you're saying Everwild is new IP, but it was rebooted a few times. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not canceled, but I did hear it was having some trouble. Darkborn, you're saying Avowed actually had a lawsuit with Bethesda before both got bought for copying Skyrim. It was bought mid-production. No new IPs from Xbox themselves. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just wonder what a new you know what? Hold on. I think I'm going to shift gears right after this because we're going to talk about Sifu. I think the Coalition is going to announce a new IP. Now that's interesting to me. See, that's where Xbox suddenly becomes much more interesting to me. Where it's like, so you're taking one of your biggest internal Microsoft studios that you didn't buy. I mean, I know that they acquired them a while ago, and the Coalition is going to make a new IP. And I heard rumors that it was going to be a horror game. I don't know if that's true. Now that's okay, Xbox. Now you have my interest for sure. That's what I would want to see. But I want to talk about Sifu for a moment here before we do wrap up the podcast. By the way, guys, hit that like button for me. We are over 730 likes, which is awesome. I think we could easily get to 800, maybe even more if everybody chips in. Be honest, how many topics did you hit today? Let me check. So let me see what topics I've written down here. So we did, I count this. We talked about Horizon quite a bit, so I count that. I did not, I guess the PlayStation Studio expansion, we can count that as well because we talked about the idea of Sony acquiring more studios. But one of the things I did want to point out here, and I'll mention this now, I wish I would have mentioned it earlier. When I talk about PlayStation Studio expansion, what I'm really referring to is the fact that Sony already, I don't know if it's Sony, but Deviation Games already expanded to a second studio in Canada, which is an expensive thing to do. And this studio, I think Sony's banking hard on, I really think they're banking hard on Deviation Games. You know that Deviation had to have gotten the money from Sony to expand to a second studio already. I don't know, man. I'm smelling possibly a future acquisition. I think I am. Sony will own the IP from Deviation Games, and I think Sony may, in the long run, may end up owning Deviation Games themselves. I think if Deviation proves themselves, Sony will make them an offer that they cannot refuse. I also have to imagine that Deviation Games is probably eager to succeed, and they were probably eager to make this partnership happen with Sony because they're probably thinking that, man, like, maybe we can get acquired by Sony. Maybe we can make the next big thing. Jason Blundell, yeah, he is considered a legend in the Call of Duty, in game development in general, but in the Call of Duty space, he's very beloved, and well respected. So I think there's a lot of faith in the studio, and I just wanted to mention that because it's pretty big deal that Sony is already confident enough to let them give them enough money to expand to a second studio. Sony must really like what these guys are doing. So let me see. Let me see the third topic. We talked all about. We talked about Spartacus. We talked about that quite a bit. We did talk about Call of Duty, which I had. Okay, so here's what I want to talk about when it comes to Sifu. All right. So some people are feeling kind of bad about Sifu because we learned from PlayStation Game Size on Twitter that Sifu is going to be about 7.1 gigabytes total, which is a pretty small file size. Now, this is a $40 game, but we learned that there are going to be 6 levels in total, weighing in about 1.2 gigabytes each. Now, the reason why some people are feeling concerned about this is because they're thinking, I don't know, man, like, is this game not going to be very long? Is this going to be like a really short game? And I wanted to highlight this because I want people to calm down and relax on this a little bit, because if there's one thing I've learned about Sifu is it seems to have a lot in common with Returnal. Now, Returnal was a $70 game with 6 levels. And when you get good, when you master Returnal, you can blow through those levels in a matter of like 5 minutes when you master it. But that's it. I think that this is another game where it's going to lie in the challenge of mastering the mechanics, of mastering the gameplay. And so I put 121 hours into Returnal, a game with 6 levels. A game with 6 levels that by the time I hit like that 100-hour mark, I was blowing through the game over and over again. And I really think that it's like Sifu is looking to me like one of those games where it really is not about the amount of content on offer. This game is centered around the gameplay loop itself and the mastering of it. So, yeah, I I'm like more excited for it now that it seems clear that you're saying you put over 70 hours in the Returnal and then complete Act 3. Yeah, dude, level 3 is brutal for sure. Biome 3. Let me see. MBG Hades also had 5 levels. Yeah, it's one of those games, man. It's basically like a roguelite, I guess, in a way. So I just, I wanted to mention this because I would recommend, like, don't let your excitement be hampered by these numbers, because the truth is, I think that this is what they were trying to communicate with the game ultimately. And I think that this is a struggle that any game like this has when trying to market itself, is that, yeah, like, you can pretty much speed run any game when you master it, but it's, what does it take to master this game? And I saw that the platinum trophy is going to be kind of hard to get, apparently, because they expect you, I think, to beat the game. I think if I'm understanding it correctly, you have to go through the entire game without dying once, I think. Like, you can't age beyond 25. And if I'm not mistaken, you start at 25. So you basically have to master the game to the point where you don't fail. And that to me is like, holy shit. How good do you got to get at this game to platinum it? I want to platinum it. I hope I can. But I don't know, man. Nothing can kill my excitement for Sifu. So, you start at age 20? Okay, that would make more sense. So you basically have like a very small, very, very minimal, like absolute minimal room for error. So yeah, I don't know. I guess when you die, you age how many times? How many years? So like if you die at 20, do you age like 2 years or 3? Or is it just 1 year and then it starts ramping up after 25? Because if they give you 5 years basically between 20 and 25, that's essentially you got 5 deaths total, like 5 lives, essentially. Yeah, so I like that, You're saying it's also the graphics. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not the most graphically intensive game. Definitely not. So I'm excited, man. I really wish the game was out now. I really wish, because now that I platinum Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like eager to, dive into Dying Light 2, to dive into Sifu, and it's going to be crazy managing it. But there's one last thing I do want to bring up to you guys before I call it a podcast. Give me a second to bring it up. So I want to refer to this poll that I put out, guys. I put out a poll 5 days ago, and it has since garnered 18,000 votes and 930 comments. Holy shit. It's like more than I thought. That's a lot. There's a lot. So this poll I put out, I said, are you considering buying an Xbox Series X or S now that Microsoft is in the process of acquiring Activision Blizzard? Now, these are the 4 options I put. Option 1, yes, I definitely need an Xbox now. Option 2, maybe I have to wait and see what's exclusive and what's not. Option 3, no, I have no interest in Activision Blizzard titles. And option 4, I already have a gaming PC, so I'm covered. Now, I have to put there's a caveat here. I made a mistake looking back. For option 4, I should have put, I already have a gaming PC or an Xbox Series console, so I'm covered. And people got mad at me. They got mad at me that I didn't put that as an option. And they think that, like, I'm doing that purposely. Like, no, I literally just didn't think to put it there. So people need to calm down. The way I view it is, if you chose the option, you already have a gaming PC, I view it that you also either have that or a Xbox Series console as well. Because if you think about it, what is the difference between a gaming PC and an Xbox Series console? I mean, what's the difference? I mean, there really isn't any. So as far as I'm concerned, if you click that option, you may as well already have an Xbox either way. But yeah, I'm not kidding. Some people legitimately got upset and were leaving comments basically like, you didn't put Xbox as an option. Like, okay. I understand why it may seem like it was intentional, but it's not. And I just think it's weird that people are getting upset over something so ridiculous. But anyway, You're saying a $2,000 difference is pretty big. No, I know. I just meant like fundamentally speaking. You know what I mean? Like you have access to the same services, the same games, the same storefront. Everything's the same. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to get at here. But so out of 18,000 votes, 16% said, yes, I definitely need an Xbox now. 16% said, maybe I have to wait and see what's exclusive and what's not. 51% of the 18,000 votes said, no, I have no interest in Activision Blizzard titles. And then 17% said, I already have a gaming PC, I'm covered. And if I go to the comments, I mean, I would recommend you guys go check the comment section out if you want. I'm not even going to bother reading them because they're just, they're very opinionated all over the place. And so I just thought that was interesting because I know that that's like a small pool, right? Like that's just my core audience. And I don't think my audience here, I don't think that we make up the bulk of the PlayStation player base. I know people don't want to agree with that, but I think that's true because I don't think most of us here consider ourselves like casual gamers. Like we're not the kind of gamers that like, oh, I'm buying a PS5 so I can play my Call of Duty and occasionally one exclusive game every once in a blue moon. That's not us. Like we're the hardcore, you know what I mean? Like we're really buying the PS5 to play as many games as we can, to play all the games, all the exclusives, whatnot. And so I think it makes sense that a lot of people, because when I thought about it, outside of Call of Duty, and I'm serious here, outside of Call of Duty, Activision Blizzard has not had the biggest presence on the PlayStation platform. I think Call of Duty is the bulk of it. There's Overwatch. We got like the remastered games with Spyro and Crash and Tony Hawk, but I think that's kind of it, really. But then there is Diablo 4 coming out. So I don't know. I thought that the results of that poll were very interesting. I really did. I thought that they were very interesting results, and I did not expect, I'm being serious, I did not expect 51% to say that they have no interest. That was kind of surprising to me, man. That was more than I thought. Like I expected that to be like high, like maybe at 35%, maybe 40, not over 50% of the vote. So, but suffice to say, that poll upset some Xbox fans. I mean, look, it's not a big deal, guys. It's not a big deal. Spectre Guru is saying, how many playthroughs did it take to platinum Guardians of the Galaxy? It took me about 2 playthroughs, but I did have to go back to certain chapters to do certain things as well, but about 2 playthroughs. So, not that many at all. But you know what, guys? That's going to do it for episode 94 of Press X Podcast. I am, clearly we've had some interesting moments over the course of this podcast, some interesting rants. I guess I have to really try to, I don't know. I don't think I have to try to stay on track too much because I think that's kind of what makes the podcast fun and somewhat unpredictable. So either way, I appreciate all the support you guys continue to show this channel and to continue to show the podcast as well as my content. Do me a big favor as you head out. Please just click that like button. I think we could definitely get to 800 likes before the podcast ends, which is awesome. It gives it a better chance of maybe hitting that coveted 1,000 likes mark, right? So thank you guys for all the support. A huge shout out to all of my members. I have to do a quick read for my channel members. If your name's not here, don't worry. It will be here starting February. Big shout out to Junior Jackson, Josh Z, Agile Ice 24, Skin Tight Salmon, PlayStation Pete, RU46, N2 Ray, iSiler 18, Whiskey Gaming, Chlorian A, Chris B, Anthony Ramos, Hidden Leaf Tutaka, Rune Gisodin, Black Waifus, Ryan Butcher, John Renzi, Adrian D, AWS Asher, Zanarkan Blitzer, Ivanoa Kachofel, Space Gambler Jr., AJ Saeed, JD TV, Sir Speaks a Lot, Ashorty Faye, Big Norman 0518, Shaky Shako, Tyson Webb 509, Black Manta 1989, Saying JT, Brandon Chad Perez, Adrian Lupton. Thank you guys for supporting me at the Play Has No Limits Plus and the Play Has No Limits membership tier. Really goes a long way. And so thank you to everybody who donated a super chat over the course of this podcast, or who, donate super chats at all. You guys, as well as my members, are the backbone of support when it comes to the content I create here. So yeah, also big shout out to Devil Shooter for doing the timestamps for the podcast on a weekly basis. He does a great service to this community, and I know that many of you appreciate that he does that. So if you happen to see him in the comments section or anything, show him some love, give him your thanks for doing that for us. And yeah, that's it. That's episode 94 in the books. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I am going to go get some lunch now and relax and enjoy the rest of my Sunday. I hope everybody here enjoys the rest of their Sunday as well. And with that being said, we will be back here hopefully same time, same place with episode 95. And who knows what we will have to discuss. So yeah, that does it, guys. Until next time, take care.